check out not just the side events. We have some incredible panels with some artists. There are some arts and crafts over in Hall C. And of course, at 5:30 p.m. tonight, there's the live Gotta Catch 'em All game show. There's going to be some Pokemon trivia. It's going to be so exciting. So if you're here in the hall with us, make sure to check those out. You can use the event app to check the schedule, or you can just walk around and check out the hall. So we only have a couple of minutes left here. Real quick, Chip, starting with you. Sell us, why should we watch TCG today?
We're gonna whittle it down today all the way to Top Cut, figure out who's gonna be playing in Championship Sunday. Extremely exciting, and I think we're gonna see some surprises. Lots of different techs, lots of surprise card picks, and hopefully some very exciting moments, some coin flips incoming.
All right, Will, go. 3 words, go.
3 words.
3 words.
Fortress, Blastoise, Corsola?
Okay, Kellosaurus, 3 words.
Trying to make the connections here, and I don't know if I'm paying
That was way more than 3 words.
That's okay.
3 words.
Okay.
Hype, outfits, and
Oh, there you go.
amazingness.
Amazingness. Okay. Okay. I like that. I like that. You can have more words if you want. I just wanted to make Will think a little bit.
Yeah, put him on the spot there a little bit. It's okay, guys.
And doesn't count, okay?
I'm very thankful that you did not give me just 3 words.
Yeah.
I figure with TCG, with all the text on the cards,
Yeah,
that would be a little bit too much.
But no, we're not live, right? I'm just kidding. But no, I'd say that the meta is incredibly dynamic.
Không phải. Cái áo lão này là phát sáng thiệt hả trời?
A lot of surprises, a lot of incredible plays. The skill expression on stage is honestly phenomenal. Every single match, I feel like you can take some notes, you can learn something, bring it to your own Go Battle League battles, or even to start your competitive journey in the Championship Series. So I highly recommend. Pokemon Go has never been more exciting or dynamic.
Kellosaurus, final thoughts?
I also want to mention, for all of those matches that aren't shown on the main broadcast, we do have a feature stream as well. So we are going to be showcasing all of the Unite matches today on either one of these broadcasts on YouTube.
And I'm so glad you mentioned that, because it's the exact same thing for the video game championship. So if we're not featuring the match you want to see on the live stream, make sure to check out our YouTube channel, as there is a chance you could see it there. That being said, I think that is about it for us here in this lovely preview show. If you spent the morning with us here, thank you so much for tuning in. If you're just tuning in now, congratulations. You are tuning in just in time to catch the opening ceremonies of the World Championships. Thank you so much for spending time with us. I don't know about you. Are you ready to kick things off?
I'm ready. Let's go.
Ready?
I am so ready.
All right. Why don't we just go ahead and kick it off? Thank you so much for watching.
Go. Chờ đấm nhau. 9 8 7 6 5 4 3 2 1. Nữa hả? Cứ như anime vậy thôi, phải có opening mới chịu được. From a track. Tụi này là top UC năm ngoái rồi. Đúng rồi, top UA năm ngoái. Coradon Miradon.
Good morning, trainers. Welcome to day 2. We are, of course, here at the 2025 Pokemon World Championships, and we are so happy to have all of you here with us this weekend. I'm Anna Prosser, and let me tell you, the Anaheim Convention Center is the place to be this weekend. We have the best Pokemon trainers in the world fighting for the right to call themselves a world champion. We, of course, have our 4 pillars of competition to follow: the Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet video games, the Pokemon trading card game, Pokemon Go, and Pokemon Unite. Every competitor will be trying their best to make it through today's gauntlet. So, let's highlight a few of today's top trainers. In Pokemon VG, trainers Ko Tsukide, Victor Medina, and James Beck have the best shot of making it to Championship Sunday, but we'll see how the day looks when we get to top 5. The Pokemon TCG competition has been fierce, but Orvin Svinhuvud, Keito Arai, and Piper Lapine are hoping to hold on to their momentum from yesterday. In Pokemon Go, I'm keeping an eye on Arrow, Padoman, and LNDS Rarjeff as they tap their way through the Worlds bracket. And finally, for Pokemon Unite, the top teams we're watching are Aegis Flames, High Five, and Reject. Who will be a focal point in the Championship Sunday arena? I can't wait to see. Of course, our event is not only battling. There are lots of activities for all of us here at the Anaheim Convention Center. If you're watching online and want to join in on the fun and excitement, start planning your 2026 journey to the Pokemon World Championships. I can tell you even now, you will not want to miss it. Let's give a huge shout out and a round of applause to the diligent staff, judges, production crew, and everyone else making this tournament and event come to life for us. Let's hear it. And I want to say to you, the friends and family of every competitor and the fans supporting these trainers as they push through the competition, thank you. Your encouragement really inspires us all. Let's hear it for you. Good job. With that, day 2 of the 2025 Pokemon World Championship starts right now. Casters, take it away.
Well, thank you so much, Anna. Thank you as well. Good morning, trainers. It's old Chaz and Ben on the desk once more. I say old Chaz and Ben. That only applies
it's old
to
Ben, isn't it? It's not old Chaz.
It's only old Ben. Ben, I know you love a knock-knock joke, so
go on.
Knock-knock.
Who's there?
Urshif.
Urshif who?
It's better when you don't know that that's the format of joke I go for, right? The Kyriak who and etc. But
I mean, I have heard one or two knock-knock jokes before.
You've puzzled out before. Now listen, Ben, we need to get our vocal
Oh.
Let's do a tongue twister, you know? This is Terra Stella Stela.
See if you can do this at home as well. Terra Stella Stella Stela. Terra Stella Stella Stela. Terra Stella Stella Stela. Terra Stella Stella Stela. Terra Stella Stella.
There we go. Use that hashtag Pokemon World. Yeah, there are all sorts of tongue twisters available in the Pokemon world and in the Paldea region and all of the regions across the Pokemon universe. But back to the World Championship. What's on the line for everybody this weekend? We're of course kicking off day 2 here, and tomorrow one trainer will go all the way to win $30,000.
An incredible prize to win. And it's not just the winner that's getting a large prize pool. All of our competitors that make it into the top 16 will be going home with at least $5,000. And that's definitely something that all of our trainers are vying for as we kick off day 2 with our day 2 Swiss round before we get into that asymmetric top cut.
Abba said the winner takes it all, but that's not true. The winner takes some of what's available. An incredible amount of prizing available for everybody here. But of course, then there's the thing that you just cannot put a price on. The prestige of not only being Pokemon World Champion, but I mean reaching top cut of the World Championships wherever you are, even just qualifying for the World Championships, of course, given the qualification system that we have. That is achievement in itself, so I hope that every trainer here is feeling very, very proud of themselves indeed.
They definitely should be. Anyone that played in day 1, anyone that's made it into day 2, it's something to take home and just affirm that you are capable of going all the way, regardless of how today or yesterday has gone for you. But we're going to be getting a little bit further into our competition here. We've got a few highlights, though, from day 1 that we want to showcase with you. Some of the great rounds that we had before.
Okay, here we go. So, yeah, Christopher Hahn versus reigning world champion Luca Terabelli. Look at that.
Yeah.
The critical hit smile. That, my friend, is a critical hit smile. It's the kind of joy that can only come from getting that bigger amount of damage than anyone is expecting there.
That's it, yeah.
Luca, however, has, of course, made day 2, so even though that match didn't seem to go so well for them there, they're still there. Now, this is the only Ho-Oh player in the entire competition, Ben.
Yeah, Yoshitaka just giving us a masterclass in why whether or not Ho-Oh has been trailing off quite a lot in the later stages of Regulation Set I, actually it's still one of the key threats in the metagame. And look at it there, it's just being a backbone of Yoshitaka's team in that round 5 that we had yesterday, just carrying on playing time after time after time.
Yeah, massive up Solans, Calyrex, Shadow Rider, Zamazenta, but that common restricted pair nowhere to be seen in this final Swiss round where Wolfglaive took down Marcus Dion. However, the margins were fine. Wolf likes to keep us on the edges of our wonderful to see them having that sportsman-like interaction at the end, saying, GG, well played. Listen, the amount of respect up there on that stage, it's overwhelming.
Yeah, we can all be rivals when we're playing Pokemon, but I mean, there's so many examples across the season, many seasons in fact, of just the sportsmanship that goes alongside players getting off of the playing table, just exchanging comments on the match that they just played and working together to improve as a whole, as a community. And I think that's something that we see across all of the games that we've got here this weekend, not just the video game. We've got the trading card game, we've got Pokemon Go, and we've got Pokemon Unite as well.
And follow along with all of that beautiful action on all of those socials. Pokemon.com/broadcast.
Phải để ngày mai mới cứng hết. Mà đều cứng hết là cực ăn đấy.
Hashtag Pokemon World Trainers. Are you enjoying the action? Listen, it only comes around once a year, so let's make the very most of the incredible action, the incredible stories that are being written this very weekend. We'd love to see it. Also your pets, also your plushies. Do send them through.
Anything that you've got, any artwork that you're doing as well. We love a bit of artwork here, seeing what you guys are creating at home to go alongside it. It's always really very much appreciated to see what your talented people at home are doing alongside us this weekend.
Ben, if you were to paint any Pokemon, which would you choose?
Well, okay, I've got 2 answers for you, Charlie.
Yeah.
One you won't be surprised with.
No.
The other you probably won't be surprised with either. I would go with Sableye.
Yeah.
Of course,
It's
naturally. But I'm gonna go as my second pick. You know this is one of my favourites. With the Groudon, there's a couple of them represented in the field this weekend, and still making it into day 2. It's one of those underutilized, maybe underappreciated restricteds, but I've been repping it all weekend long, and I think that's what I would be going to paint.
Groudon. Yeah, I could see the artwork being pretty spicy for that as well. Yeah, the desolate land and all that. Yeah, obviously I'd be playing Kinker, but thanks so much for asking, Ben. And no, chucking a charge bug in there, why not? Anyway, what's going to be the maps that we're featuring first for you today? I mean, obviously they're all incredible out there in the venue. Look, they're all ready to go on stage.
Beck.
Giuseppe Musico versus James Beck. And yes, trainers, your eyes do not deceive you. That certainly is a Regieleki.
Love
team
to see
James
that
Beck.
kind of adaptation.
Đu mát,
James
có
Beck,
Regieleki à?
that's got top 4 at the World Championships, not once, but twice
trận này đáng
in
coi nè.
2019 and 2022. Coming here again to try and see if he can do it. Both of these trainers are at 7-1 record right now, so they're somewhat riding the bubble, but they've still got a little bit of flexibility on them. They've got one more match to win a piece before they can guarantee their slot in our asymmetrical top cut.
Let's take a deeper dive into
Rồi,
the
Giuseppe Musico, Kali Shadow Teradak, Layoff, Astrobarak, Psychic Super Protect. Set cơ bản của Zamazenta, Incineroar có Happy Hand, nó off bắn sút phép cao, khá là hay nè. Ogapon cũng cơ bản luôn, Raging Bot cũng cơ bản. Riabum, phép cao Juten, Russian Clyde, Terrifier. Nói chung là team cũng standard á. Com cũng mạnh.
Really masterfully across all of the matches that they play. You can't say that this team goes into any particular matchup and thinks, oh, I'm not sure how I'm going to beat this composition. There's always a way within those familiar 6 Pokemon that Giuseppe's running. So I've seen the success of that where, I think a lot of the field really do try to take this sort of composition and run with it, but it's just so hard when it also has a target on its back at the same time.
Yeah, exactly that. You know, for example, when Xerneas was running rampant in the competitive format, it actually did not go ahead and win the World Championships because there were all sorts of barriers to its success. So it'd be fascinating to see
Coi James Beck coi cái team như nào. Kylie Rush cơ bản, Coradon cũng cơ bản, Inci knock off roll, Fake cao phân shoot, hay, Volcarona, Leftover, Terra Water, Freyadan, Giga Rain Out, Coilveren, Protect, Eleki Shot Thunderbolt, Moon Switch Protect. Cái team của Eleki này, Eleki từ Gen 8 của anh, Album, set cơ bản của Gen 8 luôn.
And one of the mechanics that's really important is that Raw does go through protect.
Có hai phép cao. Team James Beck có 2 phép cao.
At the end of the turn, gives you a little bit more room to breathe. One of the other things we've got to note about James, not only is there only one Ho-Oh in the field and it made day 2, there's only one Regieleki in the field and it also has made day 2. It's on stream right now with James Beck piloting it so masterfully.
Hai bên đã bắt đầu đưa team của mình cho đối phương xem. Thì team cũng cơ bản không, bên team cơ bản bên này thì James thì 2 Pokemon khá là hiếm. Khá là hiếm là hai Pokemon khá là hiếm là Volcarona và Regieleki thôi. Cái team team của anh này thì có thể trở thành team meta đó. Bộ chuẩn rồi. Còn đối với James Beck thì nằm trong cái dạng là đầu bếp, cho nên không biết là có thể đi xa được hay không thôi.
But usually they don't run to that Regieleki speed tier, and I think it's a really clever way to approach the metagame where choice scarf Pokemon actually can be quite prevalent in the format.
Now, of course, it was also Thiago Latanzi.
Rồi, bắt đầu là switch round 9. James Beck lead cho mình là Kalidas và Eki. Còn Guispace thì lead cho mình là NC và Kalidas. Có thể là Airweb. Zembeck sẽ Airweb. Zembeck sẽ có thể Airweb đấy. Từ được rồi. Zembeck sẽ Airweb và Astro Barak. Kalidas bên Musico thì phải Kalidas phát cao Eliki nè, nó không muốn ấy Protect. Rồi Teradak đến từ Musico. Masco. Ồ, Gem cũng Tera luôn. Tera gì đây? Teradak luôn. Nhưng mà để cản đam của Astro Barak, cả hai đều sợ cái Astro Barak nữa. Được coi, Eleki dùng Protect. Ôi, Masco đã predict được cái Tera đã phát cao lên Kalidas và ăn với Astro Barak. Được. Bây giờ thì hai con khá là khó, giờ chỉ có spam Astro Barak thôi. Để bên này thì con Inci nó sẽ quấy hai bên.
Well, will James be taking advantage of that transistor ability from the Regieleki? It will by going for the Volt Switch, and Incineroar does that really pretty well.
Volt Switch từ Eleki để Squid con có thể sẽ đưa Inci ra. Bây giờ đưa Inci ra cũng được.
Incineroar joining the fray, providing another fake out. Maybe playing Giuseppe at their own game, ready to flinch.
Kalidas của bên Musico nhanh hơn nè. Astro Barak tiếp khá là đau nha. Như vậy là Musico ráng sẽ KO con Kalidas này. Con Kalidas này lại off đấy chứ. Parting Shoot. Bây giờ thì tỷ lệ thắng của Zembeck nó đang khá là xuống cao rồi đấy. Musico đưa Racing Bot ra kích hoạt Booster Energy. Không làm gì thì con Kalidas của Musico nó đây là phát cao. Đúng là sẽ phát cao. Phát cao Zembeck sẽ phát cao Kalidas nè. Rồi dùng Astro Barak nè. Ôi trời ơi, không chết rồi. Thôi tự chết thành the boss rồi. Inci không chết luôn. Ai khó rồi. Bây giờ chỉ cần Astro Barak là có thể tăng lên 2 vật. Special attack cho Kalidas của Mexico. Đấy rồi. Có thể game này đã có kết quả rồi đó.
Well, Calyret's not going to be taking any damage here. Neither is Raging Bolt. So just
double attack đến từ Mexico luôn à.
No flinch protection in this situation. Just another Astral Barrage. Maybe Giuseppe trying to
đến Spectre sao ta?
I like that play as well
dùng
because
cái chức này.
you never know whether the Calyrex is going for a defensive play. You know that the Incineroar is probably doing exactly what it did now and trying to go for a parting shot. You almost never see a side parting shot, where maybe you sometimes see a side U-turn where the damage is a little bit less influential than getting an attack and special attack drop on your partner Pokemon.
Kiểu nào Musico cũng thắng rồi. Cứ spam thôi, Thunder Clap không cần cho lắm. Sợ. Sợ. Sợ Calyrex Spitter. Cũng được, lên bậc thôi. Như vậy là Calyrex sẽ KO được Incineroar và kích hoạt Gravity Grimneck của con ngựa Spectre.
I'm wondering now though, with the special attack boost on the Calyrex, actually probably not going to make too much difference.
Calyrex này cũng lay off
because the Regieleki that we know is in the back is easily capable of speeding
Wincon.
out the Calyrex on Giuseppe's
Wincon của Zembeck xong rồi, game có kết quả rồi.
While it can go for a Quiver Dance, it's Fiery Dance and Giga Drain as its special attacking options. I'm not going to be able to knock out that Raging Bolt particularly quickly. Equally, nor is Raging Bolt going to be able to knock out Volcarona particularly quickly because of the special attack, special defense, and speed boosts that it gets. So this is a really tight mid-game here. I think it comes down to whether or not James can get the boosts that he needs before the Volcarona gets put too low.
If Giuseppe does have
what a call!
The Astral Barrage, the Regieleki protected, Volcarona going to be soaking up some damage here, but just how much is it going to...
Ui, sát. Không sát thôi, vãi cực thiệt à. Rồi Calyrex của Musico đi luôn. Nhưng mà Wincon nó xong rồi. Thunderbot. Rồi. Okay. Một không cho Musico. Endgame
But if James gives you even an inch, you get to take a mile in this spot, and you really do need to, when you're sort of up against the wall against one of those Pokemon that can really start to boost up and put pressure, you've really got to strike hard and strike first before it can get those boosts up.
Cái vấn đề của team James thì Little láo, với lại tên đầu đánh cũng là một trong phần, có thể là Spitter. Cái này là chỉ để chắc ăn là con Calyrex của Zembeck chết. Có thể là sợ Spitter đó. Cái pha này thì xua ăn rồi. Xong cái pha mà giết được Calyrex của Zembeck với lại Incineroar là endgame rồi.
Really come to the fore. So I really like the way that Giuseppe played it, but thinking about James's position going into game 2, it's hard to say at this level of competition. I'm not sitting there at the desk, right? But it does feel like James does need to press the advantage a little bit more, play that little bit more aggressively, not give Giuseppe the same space that he had to just attack in game 1, and maybe a little bit of an adjustment to play there, maybe even bringing the Volcarona slightly earlier in the game to get those boosts up could be an option for him to play for this game 2.
Như vậy là bây giờ là Mirror League. Sau sự cố game 1 thì bây giờ là thành Mirror League. Cả hai đều đưa ra cho mình nick cho mình là Calyrex, Shadow Rider và Incineroar. Vẫn là thủ tục. Hai cái Intimidate kích hoạt. Và có vẻ như là NC của bên Musico sẽ có speed chậm hơn. Nó có liên quan đến phát cao rất là nhiều. Musico tính chơi tắt tay mà.
Now, even these Incineroars could opt for the fake out, and we get a little bit more of a dead turn. Maybe if the Incineroars decide to fake out into each other instead of into the Calyrexes, then we could see a little bit of suppression there. There's also the option
James vẫn Terradat cho Calyrex.
start to whittle whittle down the power of their opposing restricted Pokemon rather than to just go for the fake out and suppress them this turn.
Helping Hand. Helping Hand không biết có chết. Không. Phát cao. Yeah. Okay. Astro Barrage lên. Hai. Nhưng mà. Ồ, Nasty Plot luôn. Được. Nhưng mà bây giờ thì sẽ Terra lên. Terra lên thôi.
But the helping hand Astral Barrage into a Terra Dark Calyrex wasn't enough for the
Helping Hand tiếp.
to hit the knockout. And with that Regieleki in the back, I think there's a real risk for Giuseppe that James can find a way to position the Incineroar, position the Calyrex next to the Regieleki, get the speed control on the board, but then follow up with these 2+ Life Orb Astral Barrages.
We are really stepping on the gas here, trainers. Now time for the responding Terra Dark over on the other Calyrex Shadow Rider here. Another helping hand could very much be online.
Tiếp tục Incineroar dùng Helping Hand lên Calyrex. Calyrex dùng Protect à? Không. Tính sắc của Unsi luôn. Jamback sắc Unsi. Trời ơi, không chết kìa. Giờ là Passing Shot được. Ủa tại sao Passing Shot con Unsi?
Incineroar's going out one way or the other, right? He's either getting knocked out, but then you put the Calyrex in a position where you can go for those electro webs with Regieleki and then follow it up with the Astral Barrage. Or your Incineroar goes down, they get a boost in it. Well, it doesn't really matter because you're going to be aiming to take the knockout on the Calyrex regardless.
Ok. Tôi không hiểu. Ở bài Protect đó nha.
With the +2 on the Calyrex Shadow Rider into 2 Dark-type Pokemon, you're probably not claiming a KO there. And so then the Regieleki is so vulnerable, it has the focus sash, but James potentially not getting the mileage that they want.
So you think this is a
Passing Shot thôi, mình Protect con Calyrex rồi.
Astral Barrage, that's probably enough to knock out the
Calyrex dùng Protect nè.
Which would work if Giuseppe
ở bên kia đánh gì? Thunderbolt. Chết không? Astro Barrage chết không? Ôi không chết luôn.
That's some really good bulk. I think Giuseppe is going to be very happy with the way that he's traded his Incineroar coming in here as he gets the parting shot out, and that might be the difference maker here between even knocking out the Calyrex Shadow Rider next turn or not.
Now Raging Bolt and Ogerpon once more lurking in the back, so Giuseppe deciding that no, Zamazenta is not the bring in this situation. Raging Bolt is a nice counter to this Regieleki on James' side of the field that only has electric type moves.
Yeah, it's like, I'm also wondering whether or not Calyrex on James's side is in Thunderclap range here. I'd be inclined to say no.
Bây giờ sẽ Airwave. Khả năng là Protect Airwave. James sẽ Protect Airwave.
But sometimes where there's a Thunderclap, there's a way.
Well, there's going to be no Thunderclap into the Calyrex, at least on James's side here. Thunderclap potentially aiming into that target. We'll have to see what the Regieleki was going for. Yeah, the Volt Switch the Calyrex as on Giuseppe's side of the field, brought down to about a third of its HP, just whittling away here. Is it going to be the case that whichever trainer removes the opponent's Calyrex first will then continue to sweep the game as Incineroar rejoins the field, providing that threat of the fake out?
And if the Astral Barrage isn't the target here, yeah, the Incineroar would be able to get a fake out next turn. But as it stands, Giuseppe, I don't think has any real reason not to just go straight for the Astral Barrage in this spot where they're really threatening the Thunderclap. And if the Regieleki didn't go for the Electro Web, you still get the ability to knock out the Calyrex if indeed, as we suspect, Giuseppe's Calyrex looks to be faster than James's.
Right, Regieleki now rejoining the field here, bouncing away happily, crucially with that focus sash still intact.
Đổi Ogapon ra. Sao không eo web ta? Mắc chỗ đó.
Yeah, I think this is like really tight
Cái
as
rất
well
tốt
as
vào.
maybe it's just a life orb damage tick between this Calyrex
Đổi
going down
Ogapon ra.
or not, as the case may be. Now Ogapon switches in though. I think Giuseppe being
Pokemon
quite
Breaker.
wise to protect that
Thunder
slide.
Clap.
The Calyrex Shadow Rider on James' side is down. James hoping that roll will go more in their favor, but no, that's going to be the 2 KOs. That's going to be James brought down to their final 2.
Cái Thunder Clap nó khó chịu vãi.
Can't do much into the Raging Bolt, and in fact into the Ogapon too, resisting with that grass type part typing that it has, as Volcarona is now rejoining as well. So James also has benched one of their restricteds in the Koraidon.
Yeah, I think it's probably wise in this situation as well, but unfortunately Volcarona staring down one of the Pokemon that he really doesn't like to see in that Ogapon. A Thunderbolt going into that slot and maybe trying to pick up the paralysis there as Ivy Cudgel. I think this is one of Volcarona's worst nightmares. Targets down into it, the Thunderbolt goes in next. It's really slow Volcarona by the looks of things. It just does James doesn't get any value out of it whatsoever. Now that Regieleki is sitting in a position with, as we've been saying, electric type moves versus Pokemon that it cannot beat. Giuseppe Musco is going to secure their day 2 top cut spot.
Well, it was so cool to see that Regieleki there, and of course James Beck.
Vào 8.
2 losses now. We'll have to see how the rest of the competition shapes up for them. But Giuseppe from EU triumphing.
Win 9 là được vào top cut đúng không?
They have such both incredible trainers, and of course Giuseppe has so many good top cut results, really impressive standing that they have in the community, and James Beck someone who maybe has more consistent higher level results, but maybe a changing of the guard here.
It could be. I mean, there's always that opportunity, especially when we see so many of our players that we had to watch this weekend just struggling to make it through day 1 into day 2 because the competition is so fierce, because we are really.
Đấy là phải air web ngay từ đầu, rotate air web, léo rotate xong cũng switch, xong rồi đưa con NC ra trong khi hai con kia nó phải xóa attack.
Levels of competition, both in person but also in the online events as well.
This is Giuseppe's first ever top cut at the World Championships, and this year is his first ever day 2. So incredible.
Win 8 là vào top cut rồi.
Congratulations to you, Giuseppe. We look forward to seeing how you will be performing in that top cut. And as for James Beck, let us see what happens. And Giuseppe's been playing high-level competitive Pokemon since 2018. So yeah, just goes to show you put those hours in, you put that time in, you put the years in, and you could find yourself in the top cut in contention to be our Pokemon World Champion in 2025.
As you've got to call out here as we have a little bit of a look back at that game too. I think how cool and collected Giuseppe was in that match. You can see him swinging around in his chairs, really having a good time, enjoying the stage, but at the same time playing a confident game, knowing and trusting in the training of their Pokemon, especially where that Raging Bolt knocked out the Calyrex Shadow Rider on James's side. I really thought that could have been up in the air, could have gone either way, but it looks like Giuseppe's made quite a lot of their own decisions when building this team that is full of usual suspects, but that doesn't mean that we know everything about how the team is put together.
Yeah, you can see just how thrilled Giuseppe was there as well. I mean, it seemed like Giuseppe was giving us a bit of a clinic in that game. Yeah. It felt like James didn't really have a foot in the door, so to speak. And I'm wondering if, you know, going all in on the, well, I'm going to lead Calyrex because you're leading Calyrex, actually didn't work out all that well for James. Maybe a more consistent lead would have been better.
It certainly could be. It's quite a difficult mirror to be playing, especially when you don't know whether your Calyrex is faster or slower. And I think a lot of the problems that James had in that game probably could have got solved by a few different speed points there. But yeah, that's all in the past now. James has got to lock in for the last round. He's certainly not out of contention, but someone that is very much in contention is Giuseppe, and we've got him on stage ready for an interview.
Thank you so much. I'm here with Giuseppe, who just first day 2 at Worlds, first top cut at Worlds. Congratulations.
Thank you.
How does it feel to have made it so far in the competition?
Hôm đầu tiên vào được top cut, vào được top cut chưa chắc là win nha. Nó chỉ thể hiện là vào vào sớm rồi.
Do you think you did anything different this time around to prepare for this Worlds that has given you this success?
No, it's been more about this season here because of being very consistent. Like made 8 tournaments along the season, 8 day tours, and I learned how to be more focused during tournaments, how to prepare better. Of course, with my friends, but yeah, what changes be like mentality in me, like along the last season. Yeah.
That's awesome. So tell me about day 1 of the competition. You entered today at 7 wins and 1 loss. How did those games go for you?
So yesterday it started tough because it started 0-1 against like a matchup that should have been good for me, and was very teared about. Got angry about after the first lot, but then I started winning and winning more. Of course, I had to be lucky, making a lot of reads because this team needs me to do that. So that anything, and then end up winning like 7 best of 3s in a row. So it's good.
That is pretty good. Did you prepare at all last night for today of the competition?
No, because I knew that the teams were gonna be out today or last night, so I started to prepare like as soon as I saw the first matchup rather than yesterday. Yeah.
Fair enough. So you just mentioned that your team relies a lot on reads. Tell me about game 1 against James Back. Did you feel like there was a turn where you just made that read that really opened up the possibility for you to win?
I think that game needed me to make like bold reads because the matchup was like that. I mean, it was Koraidon, Kaido, and Volcarona. All of them are together are the dangers for my team. So I didn't know what to do. Like I thought of a plan, and my plan was okay. I bring like Insino,
Đấm nhau
Kaido,
không nào mà
Raging Bolt and making bold reads. What I did, like for example, game 2.
Nói chung là thua cũng nhiều thứ là nói đó. Chấp restrict nữa.
And my board plan was like helping extra barrage to put Kaido as soon as possible in range of Bolt. And I knew that this whole team was weak to Bolt after Kaido was down, so that was my plan. It actually worked, but still had to predict, let's say.
Yeah, it was a very good plan, and the fact that your Raging Bolt really was a staple of the team was really
Đúng rồi.
Has it been the staple
Để Raging Bolt vào sau là như quét được hết.
Different Pokemon you'd call your like most valuable Pokemon, if you will.
Yeah, actually Raging Bolt I brought it just this best of 3 and maybe other 2 around the tournament. It was, I think it was not the weakest mon on the team, but the one you brought in the last matchup. And I mean, all mons have been valuable, but to say as a non-restricted Pokemon, Ogerpon has been really good because it can be like the third Uber of this team. Like when Terras does a lot of damage, it helps cover Volcarona and the like mons that are dangerous for my team. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Giuseppe. Do you have any shout-outs you want to give to anybody at home?
Yeah, shout out to my friend Push, shout out to the server, my group of friends, and to the guys who helped me prepare for the tournament. Marco,
Tự nhiên hỏi mua đồ sao ta?
And Genus as well.
Người ta chưa về nước mà.
So yeah.
Thank you so much, and best of luck in the final round of Swiss and in Top Cut. If you're going to want to watch that at home, you'll have to stay tuned because we'll be taking a short break, but we'll be back with more of the competition right after that.
Okay. Bảy phút nữa tới switch round 10. Cho coi cái gì không. International.
EYC to EYC, NAIC to here. We've traveled the world together. Trainers, fans, and champions in the making. Now it all comes down to this. The stage is set, the battles will be fierce, and the excitement is just beginning. Welcome to Worlds. It's gonna be legendary.
Hey there, trainers. Jim Lawson here at the Anaheim Convention Center. We're here for Pokemon Worlds 2025. As you can see,
con Miradon Toyota mang qua đây luôn hả?
our goal, we
Ngon
want
vậy.
to bring you, the viewing audience, as close as possible to all the great events. Where are we now? We are at the Toyota Engineering Society Miraidon project. And as you can see, we have a life-size Miraidon currently in drive form. Pokemon actually teamed up with Toyota to demonstrate to the children of today that the power of imagination can influence the world of tomorrow. We have trainers lined up all over here to maybe see, will this Miraidon change forms? We'll have to make sure that we check back later to see, but for now, let's get back to the battles.
Hey there, Pokemon trainers. Gabby Snyder here with the one and only host of the Gotta Catch 'Em All game show, Brian David Gilbert. Welcome to the Pokemon World Championships.
Thank you very much. It is an honor to be here. It is overwhelming in the best ways.
What has been the most overwhelming part of it?
Truly just kind of absorbing the amount of exhibits I can go look at, and also figuring out just how much of my budget I should go over, which I have already gone over, but I think I can go over it more because there's some really cool stuff here.
All right, well, if you figure that out, let me know.
Yeah, I'll tell you.
But, you know, as the host of the Gotta Catch 'Em All game show, I gotta ask you about your Pokemon history, because you ask your contestants about Pokemon, so I'm gonna flip the tables.
Please.
How did you first discover Pokemon?
It feels like it's just always been there in my life, but also I was thinking about it, like, I do remember a very important Pokemon memory for me is my sister and I, like, watching over the shoulder of my older brother as he was playing Pokemon Red on his Game Boy, and just, like, I'm pretty sure there are photos of us doing this. I definitely remember my brother getting very upset with us for, like, sticking our heads way too far over his shoulder, but that was such an important memory to me as a kid, and since then I've just been playing the games, cards, everything.
Do you have a Pokemon that you'd consider your first partner Pokemon?
It's tough to say because most people know that I love Tangela so very much, but my first love was Arcanine. Okay. Arcanine was like the one that I loved so much. I've always been a Squirtle for first partner Pokemon. When it comes to, like, truly first partner, I will never give away a Squirtle. Squirtle's my most important Pokemon there. But it changes as I grow. I think that that's an important thing in Pokemon, is that it grows with you as you mature.
It evolves with you.
Exactly.
I love that. I love that. Do you have a favorite game in the Pokemon series?
The hipster in me wants to say Pokemon Stadium, because I will destroy any of you at the Scyther Pinsir game where you're chopping the logs.
I'm
so the best
hard
at it. And again, this is an open call. Any competitors, there should be a world championship for just that specific mini game, because I will destroy you in that one.
They're usually over inside events, by the way, so
great.
You can get set up there later. So how do you prepare for an episode of the game show?
Very good question. Just 36 straight hours of heavy meditation, just getting into the correct mind space, followed by intense, like, diction tongue twisters.
Oh, of course.
The Tyrunt and the Tyrogue tied at the tournament, just over and over and over again, making sure that I can really pronounce, well, I just said pronounce everything. Making sure I can pronounce. I haven't finished my diction tongue twisters just yet, so wait for that tomorrow.
I was going to say, you have until Saturday to get warmed up, so you got plenty of time.
I've got time until Saturday. It'll work out great.
And do you have any other, like, physical warm-ups that you do, or is it all a mental thing?
It's predominantly mental, but, you know, I'm always getting those, just in case I need to run on stage. I'm ready to go, stretching out.
This is the first time it's in person.
It is the first time. I'm very excited about that. I think the audience's energy is going to be incredible, specifically when all of the audience knows the answer to a trivia question and none of my contestants do.
All right. Well, you had the first episode online a couple months ago. Do you have any fun memories from that you want to share?
Oh my gosh, it was fantastic. I think it was such a wonderful first 3 contestants. Glitch winning is spectacular to me. Specifically, Spraggles claiming to be Team Rocket halfway through, to the point being so convincing that I truly had to like look at the producers behind it. I was like, did you just not tell me about this thing? Did you hide this from even your host? But no, it was just Spraggles doing his thing. But all of it was just so much fun. Watching all of them really get to show their knowledge. Just a joy. Just a joy.
I mean, do you have any hints on what we're going to see tomorrow?
I don't want to give everything away for Saturday, but there will be some very good championship-specific questions. I'll say that if you're checking out maybe, I don't know, the museum or just different people around here, you might get some hints for potential questions that might be coming up. But there are going to be some difficult ones, and I can't wait.
Oh, I'm so excited. I love trivia, and, you know, the Gotta Catch 'Em All game show is such a fun watch. So if you are here in the hall at the World Championships this year, Saturday at 5:30 p.m., they'll be over on the stage in Hall C. So make sure to go check that out if you can. Brian, it's been such an honor to interview you. Thank you so much for your time, and best of luck tomorrow.
Can't wait.
We'll be back with more Pokemon action from the World Championships real soon.
Dễ thương vậy.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the 2025 Pokemon World Championships here in the sunny and beautiful Anaheim, California. My name is Gabby Snyder, and I'm joined here by the one and only Aaron Cybertron Zhang to give you an update on the competition and maybe watch back one of our feature matches.
Yeah, I'm screaming because so many crazy storylines happening already. Michael Kelsch just confirmed another spot in Top Cut. That's his third World's Top Cut in a row.
That's crazy.
Hirofumi Kimura, 2019 World finalist, has
Sao kiếm Saber nó không hiện đâu.
in the last 2 years, 4th World's Top Cut now, I believe.
That's crazy.
He's gotten as far to 2nd at Worlds, won 2 Japanese national championships, considered one of the best players from Japan. And I believe Wolf Wick actually just got eliminated.
Oh no, that's too bad. I mean, he made it so close though, and that match yesterday was super exciting to close the stream out with.
Absolutely.
Do you have any other updates for us?
Those are the main ones I was tracking. I believe Luca Cherry Belly, all the world champions coming into this round, the Master Division world champions have been eliminated. So Joe Konami lost and Luca Cherry Belly lost as well. So along with those two and Wolf Wick, all 3 have been eliminated. But close to today, the 2019 Senior Division world champion already secured a spot in Top Cut yesterday.
Okay.
And yeah, is looking to be the first player to win a world championship in the Seniors Division and in the Masters Division.
That is so cool.
And he's doing it with the Lunala Miraidon team that everyone had pegged as one of the
Biết thời gian làm bằng gì.
this morning. And I think people were expecting it to be Luca potentially piloting it, of course. But in the end, it's going to be Cole that's bringing it all the way to the top right now.
I know. I'm going to try and get an interview later if I can. But to give another update, to check my nose, I swear, I'm not texting. It looks like Giovanni Giuseppe, who I just spoke with, Hirofumi, Mao, Harada, Michael Kelsch, and now also Kishida have all locked in cut. So congratulations to them. And we'll be seeing who else will lock in cut. What is this? How did you get here?
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm excited for today. It's going to be amazing. You know, we had such an incredible day yesterday, being able to feature so many top players, and we're getting into that period of the tournament now where everything's on the line to just progress to that next stage, and it's so exciting to see everything unfold and we'll be moving into that top set.
Would you like to see a feature match while we wait to see what that is? Well, I can queue up Shinsuke Minami versus Hirofumi Kimura for y'all if you want to get that going.
Okay.
Let's do it.
All right, why don't we go ahead and roll that beautiful footage when it's ready. We do have to wait a second for them to get ready. I caught them off guard.
I was just singing Hirofumi's praises, but I cannot express how good he is at this game. To win the Japanese national championships multiple times is one of the most incredible feats in competitive PWC, because the Japanese circuit in particular is so brutal. There's even more variance because first of all, playing best of one closed team sheet. I think it's, it's like 10, 20 games. That's all you get.
Yep.
And so there's so many incredible players from Japan. The team building from Japan is often just so exceptional and creative as well. You do that just to make it into a tournament. The tournament then also this weird structure where it's often closed team sheet best of one for the first stage. Then it's like closed team sheet best of three, and then like open team sheet best of three. And so it's like playing 3 different formats all in one, which is absolutely crazy as well. But here we go, and it's going to be Groudon in the field and Koraidon in the field. So Sun on both sides and Smeargle as well.
Are we going to be doing Moody Boost in Japanese? Is this a throwback?
Sao?
Alright, I should have studied this going into this tournament. This is like the one time I didn't. Oh wow, but it's interesting though to see what I would assume is 2 different takes on a very similar idea. You know, you have your Sunsetter with the Koraidon and the Groudon, and then you have the Smeargle there for disruption, with Spore, with redirection, with I'm assuming Spiky Shield and Fake Out are the other moves that they're running right now, right?
Yeah, I believe there's a Renation Smeargle running in this event.
Okay, well, at least the Smeargle on our side of the field had 2 normal moves and 2 grass moves, so no ruination.
I thought I saw a dark type attack on the Smeargle here.
Really?
Yeah, I think it was.
Shoot, maybe I missed
Đang coi đang.
Oh no. Okay. Well, that was a Spore. So we're not going to find out anything other than that just yet.
So Smeargle, like, wars I think are a nightmare because you often will just run max speed, right? And so whoever wins the speed cap with Smeargle is such a big deal because then you're just able to get a potential score off beforehand. But yeah, I remember like World
Đi matchup không, matchup có Swell hai bên nè, nhưng mà một bên cũng tạo nắng, còn một bên là Hirofumi với lại Shinsuke. Man Nhật dạo này thích chơi Smeargle ta.
Players drop their second restricted Pokemon throughout this event. It's so frequent, it feels like you just have to know when is the right match to do it because it's obviously a big risk, right? But in this case, we saw here dropping his
Smeargle vào và đưa Bakassu là đưa Kariras ra.
Ice Rider with Groudon and Ice Rider with Koraidon coming into this event, and we were talking so much about Groudon yesterday. Will it be able to have the success that people thought it might have because it really started rising up very quickly coming into this tournament?
Yeah, it's
Lando.
really popular.
Lando ra.
Yeah, doing so well as well coming into this event, and a lot of players probably haven't prepared super hard going into that matchup, so it's nice to see kind of doing well. I wonder if this Smeargle there on Hirofumi's side got maybe a speed drop.
Maybe.
And why he switched it out, because in that scenario you feel like you
tầm này là protect thôi.
Gone for the Spore into the Groudon, shut it down for a turn.
Xong rồi
yeah. The Lando coming in, that's nice.
The Koraidon here, shows its bulk, by the way, right? Takes 2 different Precipice Blades. Lander's a really nice switch in. I think it's like Landers is great if you're able to eliminate the Ice Rider. I think Ice Rider is just a nightmare kind of for Landers often to deal with here, but it switched in on a Flame Charge and it took over half its health, right? So it's dangerously low, and that just makes it so much
power chết không?
Pokemon into Landers and
Nó chết không?
It's at full health and has the ability to, go for like a defensive Terra, for example.
Yeah.
But taking that much damage on the Switch, it never feels great.
No, and now it's probably going to be KO'd. Yeah, there it is.
Chết.
Interesting that the Groudon was left alone.
Trừ khi con này sẽ hit cross.
To just protect. It's a really safe play for Hirofumi.
Hả?
Yeah, and there's a Precipice Blades coming out, so you're in a nice spot as well, and it feels so
thấy cái gì vậy?
Get any momentum
Thunderbolt?
if you're the Groudon player, even the Smeargle coming back in, it's asleep, it's not really going to have any sort of disruption, impact, support. The Groudon's still pretty healthy, but you kind of don't want to even lock into that Terastallization until you get rid of that Landorus, and now that the Landorus hasn't really got the threat of that Ice Rider, it's kind of sitting in a super nice position.
I think turn 1 of this game was interesting, by the way, because it was Smeargle versus Smeargle. Smeargle carries Fake Out. Neither of them them decided to fake out. And part of the scary thing is,
Chi
what if I fake out my opponent's Smeargle, but they win the speed tie, they fake out the other Pokemon, then essentially I can
đá cho cái nè.
turn other than breaking Smeargle's Focus Sash, but then the other restricted Pokemon gets a huge attack off.
Mình phát lục.
And so both players were like, I don't really want to deal with this speed tie war, right? But imagine if it was just fake out going into the Smeargle, like off the Spore off that turn, then you eat up a Precipice Blades, you just faint there immediately, right? So that's one thing to pay attention to in these Smeargle wars. And you know, all of us are old school VGC players. We played when Smeargle
Không, giờ Coradon không ta ra được đâu.
to society in
Đừng đùa.
2016. It's funny because when this format started, people weren't really using Smeargle, and part of it is obviously back in the day, Dark Void was just one of the most broken moves, maybe the most broken move in the game, right?
It was.
Still gives you nightmares now.
I was gonna say, I'm still talking about that in therapy, real talk.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. But you know, now lads, it doesn't have Dark Void. I think people are like, maybe it's actually not that great. But turns out, when you get access to every move in the game, you can still put in so much work. In this current game, by the way, Chiyu coming out. Chiyu's such a common partner. As we actually see the low kick from Crydon, I think that's actually been one of the big techs from the Japanese players in this event.
Yeah.
Which I think is really cool, right? You just do a ton of damage. And the Snarl here from Chiyu, a really common option as well. And it's one of the few Pokemon that can not only Snarl to decrease your opponent's special attack, which is what you normally use it for, but it does a ton of damage, right? Like, look how much it did to Landorus just now.
It's really cool, honestly. Like, I don't know. I feel like Regulation I has gotten to the point where, like, people have gone back to the previous regulations and are starting to remember, like, oh yeah, that was a cool strategy. Like, oh yeah. And like, we're seeing that creativity sort of come full circle here at Worlds.
Really?
I don't know, especially that we're going back to Regulation H, at least here in the States.
Nghe nói là đúng. Thì nó là đúng.
Still are people trying to break the meta game, even though it does feel like we are in that later cycle.
Yeah, and looks like Hirofumi ends up taking game one here. That game to me, like turn one alone, blew the game wide open for Hirofumi.
Cắt luôn, đúng quá. Hirofumi win game đầu. Giờ chúng ta qua tới game 2 nó cắt luôn.
He got 2-3 Precipice Blades off, and Water Terra Landorus, like it looks amazing in this matchup, right? How do you deal with it with Ice Rider or with Chiyu? Those are not going to be able to do a ton of damage. Chiyu would have to basically lock into a Dark Pulse, for example. And so,
low kick luôn.
Yeah, I like the decision for Hirofumi to actually just bring Landorus into this matchup, which might not seem the most intuitive into Ice Rider, but it's the Terra that changes everything. And it's actually going to be a Smeargle war once again, but this time Ice Rider being led, which I like because you can see Hirofumi's already considering Terra. He's like, well, if I don't Terra, I am vulnerable to something like Fake Out Terra, Ice Rider, Glacial Lands turn 1.
Yeah, and you've got those mind games now and saying, is my opponent going to fake out this turn or not? Because they didn't turn 1, so you think, oh, are you just going to play it out or are you going to take...
Vậy Hirofumi đó chơi hơi nóng, tắt tay luôn.
Seriously wrong very quickly.
Không switch.
I wonder if that's going to come back to haunt Hirofumi.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting because if you, now that you've baited out the Terra, your Landorus suddenly becomes much more of a liability, right? But you're up against the Ice Rider. That's the biggest threat to Landorus right now. So you see Hirofumi's kind of prioritizing.
Tao ra lửa luôn. Tao ra lửa bú.
Hirofumi also baits up the Terra, right? And so this makes
Rồi tao ra nước luôn chứ.
And crucially, Hirofumi did not lock
Cũng được.
fire type attack
Như nhau cả.
either. And so going for that low
Lượng bú.
damage it does. It's not a move that I've actually seen a lot on Crydon before, but
Spiky Shield đến từ Smeargle.
does open some vulnerability to the opposing Smeargle going for a Spore, but it looks like it targets into Hirofumi's Smeargle, running that spiky shield, and actually breaking the
out.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
That's a lot of damage.
Calyrex is heavy.
Yeah.
And that is why you run low kick, right?
It's the big noggin, right? But no, I love that adaptation. Like, I forget who said it yesterday, but you get all the damage of the close combat, but with none of the downsides with the damage drop, or the defensive drops.
Yeah, I think it's like, I imagine close combat, especially when you throw a life orb onto it, is like the strongest, where you can guarantee a lot of one-hit knockouts, but like low kick in a situation like this, especially since Hirofumi is not running the life orb set, I think makes a lot of sense. And I mean, that's great, right? You baited out the Terra, so the Water Terra didn't end up accomplishing much. It was still kind of a necessary defensive play.
Oh, you just...
Turns out, Pokemon into land here, but...
doing so well at that switch that up.
It doesn't have RL
there still are people
really tough as well. Right. Great. In this current game, big text from the Japanese players in this event.
Yeah.
Which I think is low kick. Actually not. Miracle and. But you know now. Because it was Smeargle versus Smeargle. Smeargle carries fake out.
You got the threat of that Ice Rider. It's kind of sitting in a super nice position.
I think turn 1.
You're in a nice spot as well, and it feels so difficult now.
Interesting that the Groudon was left alone, but knowing that the Koraidon could just protect, it's a really safe play for.
Human Bariki.
Here. It works very well.
I think it's very much like what team are you using?
Yeah,
and so,
exactly.
for example, if it's on a Miraidon being so common and Incineroar is such a common partner, it's like, well, I have the electric terrain, so that it kind of gives me the hidden sleep anti-buff, right? Versus, I think Rocky Helmet's been a huge item throughout this event as well, because that additional chip damage goes such a long way. When you can do 75% of damage from a restricted, 2 ticks of Rocky Helmet can be enough to secure that knockout, right? But I think now,
sorry, Tembo.
fake out, right? So you're like, okay, well, I don't want to just lose Smeargle here, and so you're going to switch in. I think that's Raging Bolt, yeah. But this means a huge potential offensive combo from Hirofumi. You can go for the safe fake out into their Smeargle's hot, and Koraidon's going to be able to get a free attack off. It's actually going to be the Flare Blitz instead, so opting to do damage, and that makes sense if you expect to underspeed, aka outspeed Smeargle under Trick Room. There's another low kick, and this is doing so much damage.
That is crazy.
That's absolutely insane.
The Japanese players have been they've been really singing low kick Koraidon's praises, and this was not a move that we were seeing on Koraidon coming to this event. Mao, who you mentioned, has top cut the World Championships now, and also I believe got top 4 at Worlds in a previous year. He's using low kick Koraidon. I think I saw him tweet like, low kick Koraidon is broken or something like that, and so I've been really impressed by it, but it feels bad when you've set up Trick Room, but you're the one making switches right now. And this Koraidon is just launching attacks and attacks, and there's just not enough threatening right now. The Groudon finally hits the field, so there is that Precipice Blades pressure. As you can see, Hirofumi is like, okay, now I probably need to reposition, but I think Hirofumi now is looking to just stall out that Trick Room. Once Trick Room's over, you get Koraidon back in, and it feels like you can one-shot everything with low kick from this point onwards.
Koraidon vào.
More of a recent adaptation, like around the
Dofuru là Smeargle ra Protect. Groudon
tournaments leading up to the World Championships, so maybe it was a development.
Dùng Blitz lên Groudon.
It's just something that I will say was not like super big on my radar.
Dùng 10 vạn vôn thành the bot chất NC.
I feel like it's rare to see Incineroar get one-hit KO'd by a non-super effective move at like 75%, but I think that's also okay for Hirofumi because he's like, look, I'm just trying to stall out a couple more turns to Trick Room. Incineroar did its job in being able to force that Smeargle out, make sure that I could stall a little bit more. And now the Landers is positioned in, and I mean, this was such a strong Pokemon in Game 1. Ice Rider's not on the field anymore. You have so much damage with Earth Power across the board, and it feels like for Hirofumi, identifying, I don't need my other restricted Pokemon, it's actually Landers plus Koraidon that feels like the real restricted duo here.
Yeah.
Playing it so well. And that Spiky Shield on turn 1 and the instant switch just masterful.
Yeah.
Toàn chép thiệt cái chứ. Đủ má cả đạt đã Win Scott và còn Mystic nữa. Tôi quay view cái tin như vậy.
Smeargle kind of tended to run that Decorate, and
Decorate's been dropped on a lot of
completely gone, and opting for more wide guard support, or like here we've got the Spiky Shield Spore, and the Ruination is just, I think, such a clever tech as well.
Yeah, and I love it because I think coming into this, everyone's prepared for non-Spiky Shield Smeargle with Decorate, right? But now you've got Spiky Shield and Ruination and other crazy moves that it's like, wait, what? I have never fought against this before.
And even when you've got that safety goggles Pokemon,
Đúng quá, sao nó vào được Smeargle? Sao nó người ta sống sót được 9 round vậy?
Through Moody, then the Ruination combination with something like the Koraidon, with that low kick, you think, well, what can you switch in those scenarios that can take that combination? It's so smart.
Isn't Ruination also basically like a Decorate when you think about how much damage it does versus the boost? No, I really like that.
But I gotta just like Landers plus Koraidon in this matchup, it's like low kick is doing 60 to 70% to everything, and Earth Power is able to one-shot Raging Bolt, right? It's able to put on so much one-hit KO pressure, and I mean, it's like that Spiky Shield on turn 1 broke Smeargle's Focus Hash, and I mean, how do you get out of this, right? Now you can just Earth Power the Landers, you can Spore into the Ice Rider, and so this was just masterfully managed by Hirofumi, and I think Landers was a Pokemon, in my opinion, it's not the easiest Pokemon to use in this format because you are outspent by a lot of things. Miraidon can Draco Meteor you, Urshifu can Surging Strikes into you, but it also feels like if you get this out and it outspeeds your opponent, it will just knock things out.
Yeah. Such a strong Pokemon, but like you said, it's the skill level to use it. It really shows through, I think, with that. And Hirofumi, obviously, so good with a Pokemon like this, you know. And just not really giving her opponent like any room to kind of get back into this game either.
This is going back to game one.
I was going to say, I think we're looping at this point.
I assume Hirofumi would have won. We didn't see the end of game two, but I was like, I don't see how you come back from that position.
Hirofumi did win, and as we mentioned earlier, did lock in his place for Top Cut. But there is still one more round of Swiss. You know, a lot of these players are now at this point fighting for that key seeding placement going into Top Cut, as because it's going to be a bit asymmetrical. The better seeding you have, the less rounds of Top Cut you have to play. So do you think people are thinking about that a lot at this point, or do you think they're just trying to, you know, play out their games?
I feel like when you're at Worlds or any tournament, you gotta not think about the implications of what the game you're playing has. Doesn't matter what it's the first game of the day, whether it's an elimination match, whether you're X and O. You're just like, look, I just gotta play like, and I think the more you think about the implications that it has, generally the worse you'll play, because then suddenly you're like, oh my god, like I'm so close to like, you know, getting that buy. But when you start thinking about the buy, it like occupies mental space, and then it occupies, like, you know, Pokemon.
Ủa, the fuck? Ủa, đang discussing mà đến mày.
I've had so many situations where something like that has, like, in my opinion, like negatively impacted my play. But I mean, it's the best spot to be in if you are already secured Top Cut, and you're like, well, even if I win, if I win, I get a bye, and even if not, I actually have a good chance of potentially still getting that bye. But I mean, Hirofumi, I believe this is World's Top Cut number 4.
That's so insane. I mean,
2 Japanese titles, first place at, second place at Worlds in 2019. And I think he's been knocked out on the first round of Top Cut the last couple of times he's been there, so he's looking to go a little bit further. But I'm really looking at him and Michael Kelch to go all the way. Because the only 2 other players, I believe, who have Top Cut Worlds 3 consecutive years in the Masters Division are Ray Rizzo and Sejong Park. And we all know how that worked out for them.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
That's incredible, isn't it? Really.
Lee, any predictions from you?
I think Cole's obviously up there being undefeated coming into this. I think that confidence you get from just having that record going into the next stage of this tournament is definitely going to be a huge boost to you. You've got to be feeling good about whoever you come up against.
Đầu stream thì kêu là họ yên tâm đi, Phi vẫn còn. Vừa nói xong cái rào chín gãy luôn.
In the game, you can't think outside of that. What's going to happen when I get
into
top 8? What's going to happen when I get to semis? Or can I make it to the final? You can't think too far ahead. You've just got to stay in the moment and really not let anything else influence you and keep playing your game, because you've obviously got to this point of the tournament by doing something right and just kind of, keep going.
I think the best piece of advice I received when I was competing was just play the game in front of you. Like, don't look at your opponent. Don't look at the people around you. Like, we didn't have team sheets, so don't look at the team sheet. Just focus on the game in front of you. And I actually started wearing a hat so I could, like, physically not look at my opponent while I was playing, because that was the only way I could manage to do that. But we actually have something for you to look at. We have some social media posts for y'all. So if you're at home, you can join the conversation using hashtag Pokemon Worlds or hashtag Play Pokemon or hashtag both those hashtags. We have one from Alex Underhill, who locked in day 2 yesterday and spent some time meditating, it looks like, to get ready for this day of the competition. It all makes sense now.
Of course, with 2 incredible players, Colin as well as Rogov, who I believe did not make it in day 2. It was just Alex left. I don't know actually how he fared in his first round of the 2 today, but we'll see if will continue to be, you know, the lone wolf.
Does that mean there might be a follow-up photo where it's just the candles?
It's either that or it will be Alex with the world's trophy, the first place trophy, right?
Well, best of luck to you out there, Alex. I hope you're able to find your friends on the spiritual plane or hopefully in real life. Next tweet is from Serena, presenting your 2025 Pokemon BBC International Champions. It looks like we have a drawing of Federico Wolf-Glick and Marco Silva with their team.
Nice, Elise, Lice.
This is so cute.
Bagise.
Style too. Everybody looks so happy.
Yeah, just phenomenal. And I think the teams that have won this year have been super fun. You know, Marco using that Charizard, which no one really had pegged as a huge threat, but he had just been maining that team that came out of Japan. Wolf, of course, using his trusty Perish combination with Screamtail and Got to Tell. No one was really using that in that EUIC. And Federico using a team that actually had kind of been established very early on in the format. 5 of the 6 actually won the first regionals, but very different sets. Federico basically made his own version, got rid of Grimmsnarl, put Whimsicott on, and was just maining it since day 1 of the format. Of course, won NAIC with it and brought it to the World Championships. I think I saw as maybe the #1 premier pilot of this team and fell a little bit short. And I think it goes to show how difficult this World Championship is. That all 3 of the international champions, maybe considered the favorites to win this tournament, have all now been eliminated from Worlds.
Yeah, but great runs from all of them for sure. We have more
cứu tế vậy.
Pokemon World Championships. Machamp getting a bit of a workout there giving his friends a boost. All the athletes do your best from D-Suke. I love this so much, but also
có định đăng bài không ta?
Managing to balance on the roller skate or the rollerblades, those are skates. Because it's the 4x4 or the 2x2, not the 4x1 configuration.
I always get those two mixed up, Gabby.
It's okay.
It's okay. This is amazing.
I love all this fan art. Y'all are so talented. Osare wishing glory to every Pokemon trainer. What is this? There's so much going on in this picture. Tyranitar looks like he wants something though. He looks very perturbed. And is that a shiny Fletchling up there? Oh my god, this is incredible.
There's so many intricacies. Like I'm just trying to spot every little thing with my eye.
I love the Victini in the top left.
Oh my god. I was so distracted by everything else I didn't even see that. This is absolutely incredible. Thank you so much for sharing your art with us, Osare.
These are all absolutely beautiful. I think.
Đấm qua đấm lại.
I always thought fan art is one of the coolest things that you can receive, either as a player, caster, however you're involved in the scene, and it's amazing that people will go out of their way to make it, right? So, and we got some tweets I believe we've got as well, and Maxwell Carter is one of the most incredible underdog stories in PWC, winning the North American International Championships just last year. It's truly amazing to follow.
Truly amazing to follow, but I was the one who actually found this post last night. He had an agreement with his girlfriend and his roommates that if he made day 2, he would shave his beard. So the mustache era is coming tomorrow, aka today. So
do we have a picture of the mustache?
No, he did not post a picture. So
I don't know how he did it his last round, but I'm I want to see him went on stream and just do it.
Oh my goodness. Patrick, if you could use that hashtag Pokemon Worlds to give us an update on the mustache situation. Oh my goodness, hello!
Folks, you are staring at your 2035 Junior Division World Champion.
Oh my goodness, that's actually our director's son there outside of the audience cheering him on. Hello, I hope you're enjoying the show. Did you say 2035?
Yeah, although I was it's 2025, so that means 10 years. They'd actually be seniors by then, which is kind of crazy to think about because juniors is 10 and so let's say 2030.
Okay, 2030. And that's a good goal to work for, I think.
So,
yeah. Maybe follow in his dad's footsteps and get the BG title? Yeah. Title.
We're out of tweets right now, but I also want to make sure everyone knows, guys, it's Gabby's birthday. She's been obviously an incredible host here in the lab. Of course, that's been such a big part of the BBC community. So Gabby, happy birthday.
Thank you.
We will sing you happy birthday on the stream at some point, but for now we're going to save it for a little bit.
All right, well, thank you. It's really special that every couple of years I get to spend my birthday with y'all here. Pokemon is my chosen family, and honestly, I would have it no other way.
And I know we lost you to go for a little bit, and now Gabby's back with us in BBC.
Thank you so much, Aaron. That really means a lot. I don't want to tear up just yet, but no, thank you. But yeah, I think I know that we had pairings at some point when I checked my phone.
I see the players getting ready.
Are we? All right. Do we have casters ready, or are we still just vibing here for a bit? We're vibing. All right. So why don't we go ahead and talk a little bit about what's going on here in the hall for our viewers at home. Did you two have any opportunities to walk around yet?
I have not had an opportunity, but I know there's a pin badge thing going on. That I really want to.
We're doing it, right?
Yeah, and I really want to get involved because the pin badges look incredible. Have you guys seen them?
Yes.
Have you not? Oh yeah, they're amazing. They're all like kind of outline, different colors. Yeah, it's all the kind of key art from the World Championships. So
it's like the neon signs, right?
Đấm. Ôi, vào game cho tao coi đủ má ngồi dép đi. Mẹ thằng nào Stone hả? Có nào Stone ở trong đây?
So I've been to every world since 2008 with the exception of 2009 and 10. So I went to 2008 and then 2011 and every single one onwards.
Actually, shoot, me too.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah, no way. Yeah. I had no idea.
So this is like what, world's number 14 for me. When I started going to these, I was literally like in the juniors division. Like I was
Hình như có thằng nào Stone hay sao á?
which it has grown. This year in particular feels like an inflection point, truly, where I think Worlds previously, it's obviously mainly a celebration of the competitive side and the tournaments, but now there's a whole other hall that's connected to the tournament, and there's so many different things you can do. We had a caster meet and greet yesterday, and I think that was so cool. And yeah, there's just so many things. Like there's a museum. Oh my gosh. Okay, so
the museum is
incredible. Hall of Fame museum is. What they used to do at Worlds is they would have a TV and would display like pictures of the previous world champions, and that was really cool. And now this Hall of Fame like showcases. I think it goes all the way back to 2013, like all the winning players, their teams, their decks, if you know, in Pokken Tournament and Unite, like the compositions that they use. I saw it and I saw my little brother on the wall and I was wow, you know, that's so cool. And so to me, it's just awesome to be able to celebrate the history of VGC and TCG and competitive Pokemon, whether it be, you know, Unite and Go and Pokken as well. And yeah, I mean, I'm like, if this is where things are going now, like, I know things are only going to get bigger and bigger, but it is surreal, and you know, we're having the finals in a freaking arena tomorrow. Like,
I know, it's incredible, isn't it? I had the same feeling in the opening ceremony with the performance, and it was just, I was thinking back to 2013, and that was like my first experience in Vancouver that year, and where it is now. And if you'd said to me back then, oh, this is what it's going to be like in 2025, I don't know if I would have believed you from this scale up that it's had. It's just incredible, and it's just so awesome to be a part of it and to be able to kind of see that progression. And yeah, it's exciting to think where it's going to go next.
It's so funny because so back in 2006 in Bryant Park in New York City, Journey Across America, for the big finale, they actually had like a stage show, and they did like a 10th anniversary album. They wrote some songs for it, and they had the performers or the singers for those songs do a performance, and I was getting like flashbacks watching the opening yesterday. But at the same time, it was even bigger scale than that being here, and it's just so incredible that what I would argue was the biggest Pokemon thing I had ever seen is now dwarfed in comparison. Like, we've gone from the like super tiny Pokemon that gets you the ribbon to the super big Pokemon that gets you the ribbon in Scarlet and Violet. So it's honestly, if you're watching in the hall, get out there and experience it. You know, it's
Linh nào
with us, and you know, definitely don't go too far. Come back for
trước tôi có mấy bạn Việt Nam từng thuộc trực tiếp bên đó, cho nên là biết là tình hình bên đó như thế nào. Bây giờ năm nay không có ai hết.
Big plans, you know, things are announced in
mẹ chắc có thành niên nào Stone rồi.
I know
Chịu.
you guys remember like I do when it wasn't, and that was fun. You can make plans, you know, save up for it. It really is an experience, and it's worth it. It's 120% worth it.
And next year's the 30th anniversary.
It's gonna be so big, right?
I truly have no idea what they've got planned, but I'm like, I know it's going to be absolutely crazy. It's going to be 10 years after we had Worlds in San Francisco in 2016 as well, and so I'm really excited to return and just see how much bigger it's got. I remember that Worlds was in like this ballroom in a hotel room, and you had to like go down this escalator, and it was like super crowded, and I'm like, I think now we're moving up a little bit.
We outgrew that hotel. I think that was like the first time, because the year after when we were in Anaheim for the first time, that was the first year we had a convention center. Because before that it was all just hotel ballrooms. So yeah, that was fun.
It was.
It was very tight quarters though.
I'm so eager for just to see how Swiss ends in BGC. And one of the things we were talking about earlier that I want to bring us back to is kind of like, what do you do when you're in this situation, right? Like you're playing here. And I think one of the most difficult things about the World Championships is like right now where like you're so close. You're like, oh my goodness, like I'm about to top cut, I might top cut. You have to remember that it's like a top, just like under 32 bracket, right? So if you start that first match, like you have to win multiple games today in order to make it a championship Sunday. You have to be playing some of the best Pokemon in your life in order to make it to the finals, right? And it's like every opponent in front of you has truly been exceptional. And I think that people sometimes don't know just how much of a mental game it can be. It's very difficult to play 100% at your peak throughout the course of a tournament. Top cut alone, every game is so draining, and you need to figure out the systems in order to basically keep your composure and try to play as well as you can. Especially, top 8, you're playing on stream, it's so nerve-wracking, right? You've got the whole world watching you, and so I think, Worlds in particular, the stakes just feel so much higher because this is it. This is your
Mẹ thanh niên nào, thanh niên nào.
About to get even higher as we are getting our next round, our final round of Swiss here at the World Championships ready to go. So we're going to take a moment to look back on some World Championship history with Oranguru. I think you guys remember the Oranguru game from back in the day. So why don't we go ahead and take a look at that as we get ready for our next round of Swiss.
Hey Pokemon trainers, welcome to Pokemon Championships History, a series where we showcase matches throughout the history of competitive Pokemon. It's time to flash back to Championship Sunday at the 2023 North America International Championships.
Welcome to the finals in the junior division of the Pokemon video game.
Most iconic moments in Pokemon come from trainers in the Masters division, but this time around, the juniors stole the show in Columbus. The trainers in the juniors division often show the purest form of passion for the game of Pokemon.
I've never been to a championship. Oh, this is a national whatever.
Avery's energy made him an immediate fan favorite.
We got Avery from the United States and Takumi from Australia. I am enchanted with these trainers.
Avery made it to the finals with the help of his hard Trick Room team. Trick Room can be a difficult strategy to implement, especially when relying on an unconventional Pokemon like Oranguru.
Oranguru is my favorite of all time. I mean, he supports other Pokemon.
Oranguru is carrying a very interesting move called Instruct. So if you're able to get the Torkoal into position or something that's just going to be a little bit slower, then you can start firing off some big damage that way.
Trick Room teams flip the game on its head by having the slowest Pokemon on the field move first.
Tell us about your team that you're about to play.
It is Hard Trick Room.
Hard Trick Room games can even be difficult for Masters Division trainers to pilot, but Avery was ready to show the world that juniors are wise well beyond their years. For his strategy to work, Avery's Oranguru would need to twist the dimensions.
We're going all in with a terrestrialization on the Oranguru. Well, the game plan is being executed for Avery very, very quickly here.
With Iron Hands going down, Avery brings Torkoal onto the field for free.
Nhỏ mà chơi chích rum.
Torkoal is one of the
Mẹ,
strongest Pokemon.
má mỗi lần chơi chích rum là đụng má, nó ăn não mình. Phải lên luôn mà hát chích rum nữa. Mà Junior cầm chích rum, thì mẹ đéo biết có ai chỉ không.
With the momentum in Avery's favor, Takumi's savvy defense turns the tides of Game 1 and punishes Australian youngster in a winning position. Despite properly setting up Trick Room, Game 1 got away from Avery. But even if Oranguru didn't work the first time, it was important for Avery to trust the process and rely on the strategy that got him to the finals.
This one is going into game 2 with Takumi up 1-0.
After the exact same turn 1 play in game 2, Avery's Torkoal was ready to take over, which meant it was time for Oranguru to do it again.
Avery once again has the opportunity to bring in the Torkoals. Let's do it again.
Yep, there's the instruct.
Learning from his mistakes against Tinglu in game 1, Avery made an adjustment to keep momentum on his side.
This was where last game got a little bit different because he went for the overheat into the protect. Let's see if Avery goes for it again. It is an Earthflower! See you later, Chiyu.
Although it didn't have a single attacking move, Terrifier Oranguru was the star of the show. The ability to instruct your teammate to attack again would lead to more offense than Takumi could handle.
Doesn't hit this time around. It's going to be another overheat from the Torkoal.
Avery's
overheat.
confidence was back, taking down Takumi's team one by one. This championship would be decided in game 3. The crowd became enchanted with Avery and Oranguru. It was incredibly amusing to watch such a simple yet repeatably effective strategy from a junior. With the first 2 games playing out the exact same way on turn 1, there would be no surprise what these 2 trainers would do in game 3.
This is 3 games, 3 identical turn 1s.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. With Trick Room set up, the crowd was chanting, "Do it again," knowing another instruct was on the way. Avery's bravery, relying on a 90% accurate overheat to connect twice into Chiyu, would put him into a commanding position. With Takumi's back against the wall, he would put all his hopes into Terra Water Fluttermane, but Avery's Oranguru had one final instruction: become champion.
We know what's coming, and even with that defensive terror, Avery is getting another bite of the cherry. Avery will be a well-deserved champion, showing a crazy strategy. I think people had forgotten about it too.
Avery is immortalized in Pokemon history as the champion, captivating the audience's heart with his charming personality. As for the Oranguru that clicked instruct 13 times in the finals, Avery summed up its role on the team perfectly.
So, tell us about your Oranguru. How do you use it?
It doesn't do any damage.
Who knows what the future holds for Avery, and who knows what Iron Hands was going for in all 3 games. But we can be sure that Avery's future will be bright in Pokemon as long as he remembers to do it again. Thank you for watching, and let us know some of your favorite competitive Pokemon moments by using the hashtag #PlayPokemon.
Hello everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for day 2 of the Pokemon World Championships for 2025 here in Anaheim, California. My name is Rosemary Kelly, and I'm so stoked to be here with Scott Glaza. Feels like an annual tradition, and I love that this is something we get to do every single year together.
I feel like we had some great matches over the course of our Topcasting together as well. This should be a really great one. My favorite, also least favorite point in the tournament, I feel like, with this last round of Swiss.
I know.
It's so exciting where some players are going to punch their tickets in the top cut, but also it's so sad to lose the players who aren't quite going to be able to make it this round. If you've gotten to the point where you're 7-2, you're good enough to make the world's top cut. But hey, not everybody's able to make it in.
I know, and especially after we had so many eliminations from Phase 1 into Phase 2 today, and we lost some really big names. But now, hopefully, we can turn our attention to celebrating those players that are going to be able to make it in there. Let's go ahead and take a look at our pairings that we have for this upcoming round. Because this is where we really get to set the stage and look at the stakes.
Cô Kishida vẫn là top đầu. Naoto, Kishida, Mao Harada, wow, Mao Harada vẫn win. Giovanni, Hirofumi, Michael Jack, Musical, Izawa, Evan, Beck, Monata, Victor. Ông chào hô vẫn còn kìa.
Feeling great as an alumni of the U.S. Contingent here, but all these players at 7-2 just get one more win. The season is on the line. It's all come down to one moment. 11 months of work for this.
I can feel a tension in the air already as our players are getting ready. Of course, we are still setting up that stage, but we are excited to be able to show you that match in just a couple of moments. We've got Chi-Hong Chu versus Nick Navarre that we will be featuring on the main stage. Of course, you can tune into our amazing lobby stream run by Victory Road. So you can check out another one of these incredible win and in matches. Look at the stack names though, Scott. It does not get any closer than this.
Yeah, I wish I could watch all of these matchups. Should be a lot of fun seeing who comes out on top here. Some players who've made it to the stage event tournament before, some others who had some surprise.
Still setting up that stage, but we are excited to be
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
able to show you that
last round. So, hey, somebody's got to be the winner this year. Maybe it's going to be one of these players.
It does look like we are about to make history as we finish out our Swiss round number 10 and look closer to that single elimination top cut bracket that will be coming up after this. But it's so tough. I mean, you've got Patrick Connors, the North America International Champion. I think one of those amazing stories coming out of that season is that Patrick Connors, he hadn't even won a local level in Florida, and then he goes all the way to the North America International Championships as one of his very first official events and wins the whole thing.
Yeah, it really proves, hey, you put the work in, you're a good player, things can work out for you, right? You can make it happen at your first event. And he's been really impressive, too, in the year since, where really enjoyed listening to him talk about the game. He's a really well-spoken individual, and yeah, there's so many people. I mean, I get Cedric, too, who very much, we kind of enjoyed watching him coming up from the senior division, now a strong Masters division player. He makes a little content himself and was very impressed by how well he comes off, too. So two of the big brains for North America facing off this round. Sad we're going to lose one of them, but excited to see how whoever wins that match does in the top cut.
And we've got a lot of amazing regional representation there as well. And I think that's also something that makes me just so excited about this being the World Championships. We get players from all around the world that are of such high caliber, battling it out in some of the best matches of their life.
Yeah, and this is the moment, right, where the pressure is just so high for the players here, where, again, they've been working for 11 months since the last World Championship to try to qualify for this event. They are so close. Once you get to the single elimination bracket, anything can happen, but I think this is the worst point to lose. I've been a game away before. I know how it feels, and you always wonder if it doesn't happen, right, where it's still a great run, right? I think all these players should be super proud of themselves, but you at least want to get the chance to go all the way.
Or the butterfly effect of what if I had just won that one round yesterday? Would I be in a different position today? But it's so hard to make that call because then you're playing different opponents, you're playing different teams. But I do hope that is the big takeaway for our competitors that have made it this far. This is a huge accomplishment. Even to have made it to the World Championships this year, it was one of our most exclusive World Championships yet, with only the top X players making it from each of those regions. And so I hope everybody can hold their heads high that they made it here.
Yeah, things got harder this year, and yeah, I think they should all be really proud of themselves. And I think the two players are about to watch should be proud of themselves too. Should be a lot of fun to get to see two players we haven't had in stream yet.
And what a way to end out our Swiss rounds with one of the tales as old as time.
Jin Hong Chiu, Nick Navarre, đủ Kalirat Strider cả hai, một bên thì cầm Leftover, một bên thì cầm Amulet, clear Amulet. Khá là hay đó nha.
But it could be an uphill battle here, right? I think you always want to be on the rain side of that weather war. You can do naturally have that type advantage. You're going to reduce the damage of the fire type attacks if you ever get the advantage. And boy, there are a lot of Pokemon who are either really good or really bad against Torkoal here, where Torkoal will activate the ability of Flutter Mane, has to deal with these two water type Pokemon.
Mirai thì Miradon thì lỗi rồi.
So if somehow the board is set up in a way where Torkoal can get the advantage, maybe he can get a big edge, but I think looking at things at a glance here, I'd rather be Kyogre.
Yeah, it's really tough too when this Amoonguss and this Rillaboom also have the Terra Water. I think Nick has been very on top of how the Miraidon matchups are going to go. One of the more popular restricted Pokemon that you could run into, but also how it might feel to go up against something like a Koraidon, Groudon, even this Torkoal in this matchup. And Nick comes in with a ton of experience with this Rain Core, even taking a look back at what he ran in NAIC to get top 32 at that event. Couple of small changes. He does have that Urshifu Rapid Strike here, where he had the Basculegion previous, and this Iron Jugulus from this NAIC team did get replaced by the Rillaboom as well, going back towards, okay, Miraidon might be a problem.
Yeah, and I think also just kind of makes the team a little more defensive. It pivots a little bit better, which could matter a lot in this matchup. With the weather war, it tends to be a lot of going in and going out, and maybe a Rillaboom in particular with that U-turn will make it a little bit easier for maybe Kyogre to get a swing off and then be able to have its buddy Rillaboom U-turn out of battle and bring it right back in if it switches out afterward.
Yeah, and taking a look at this team and also the history that Chi Hong Chu has had against Kyogre, He hasn't run into a single one this entire tournament. And even in the Taiwanese Master Ball League, there was only one in the top 32 that he could have possibly faced. This will be an uphill battle for this Torkoal, but this is a team that Chi Hong Chu has a lot of experience with this being the same six that he won.
Insi giờ đúng mạnh
Not
đúng.
quite the matchup he was hoping to have, but hey, we heard of that experience. The team who definitely at least played against it in practice. Some of the preparing for a tournament like this too is, hey, I can't have a great matchup with every team. Maybe I'll allow some of my matchups to be a little bit weaker. I think perhaps Kyogre is one of those Pokemon he was hoping he wouldn't run into, but he does have some options here. The Torkoal will deal a lot of damage if it's able to get an attack off under drought, especially if its health is high enough that it can use that eruption with the choice specs. Will not need a lot of attacks to do a lot of damage, but actually setting up the Trick Room and getting Torkoal onto the field is going to be tricky here. We did see the taunt on the Flutter Mane on Nick's team. It's going to be very tricky here. Perhaps going to force one of these more supportive Pokemon like Indeedee or Smeargle to use Follow Me and eat a taunt. And well, you kind of like to switch them out of battle anyway to get a more offensive Pokemon in. Kind of forces him to play a little bit more predictably and maybe gives Nick a position where he can try to take advantage of the limited options his opponent has.
Absolutely. I'm hoping that maybe one of the saving graces on Chi Hong's team is going to be those 3 Grass Terras as well. If you look at Amoonguss as one of those potential answers to if the Trick Room gets set up, if you can get past that taunt on the Flutter Mane, then you at least have a couple of answers, but you have to pick one. And so you can see our players are fist bumping.
Taiwan vào nữa, Taiwan vào top kết thì mừng. Tại vì suất của Taiwan là suất đi slot kiểu giống slot học bổng chứ không phải là slot farm.
Yeah, it also has that Trick Room move. Kind of like 4 choices other than the Protect you really have to pick between. For him, he dropped the high horsepower, so has Glacial Land, Trick Room, and Leech Seed, which could also kind of be impactful here. If this is a more pivoting-based game, something like the Indeedee tries to stay on the field for a while, maybe it's an option to try to get a Leech Seed off. Speaking of maybe if the option of this game going longer, although, it's the Torkoal, usually here for a good time rather than a long time. The Pollen Puff on Amoonguss for Nick is something to keep in mind as well. All these Pokemon pretty good at getting in and out of battle, and if Amoonguss can get maybe a cheeky Pollen Puff off, knowing that Spore isn't going to work so well potentially in this matchup, could still be very impactful.
Well, as we enter into our final round of Swiss that we will be featuring here on the Pokemon World Championship stage, let's get hyped up for Nick Navarre versus Chi Hong Chu as they take to the stage.
Squid round 10. Còn 2 round nữa.
It's an interesting combination here. We do get the Weather War immediately with Kyogre coming out. We'll activate the Drizzle and immediately have it negated by the Drought from Torkoal. And Torkoal Lunala is not a lead combination I've seen.
Lead cho mình là Kyogre và Flutterman. Counter, cái hai này counter rất là hay nè. Chiêu Chinh Hùng, Sinh Hùng, cứ gọi là Hùng đi. Hùng lead cho mình là Lunala với lại Torkoal. Cái này để counter Kyogre rất là hay. Có thể Hùng sẽ chơi chích room, protect room nha. Còn Nick thì phải làm sao để có thể KO được Lunala càng nhanh càng tốt. Water Spout với lại Shadow Ball có lẽ là đủ nếu mà đừng tập trung vào con Torkoal. Hùng switch out Torkoal và đưa vào Indeedee. Vậy có thể là Lunala sẽ protect rồi. Lunala Terra Fairy, Terra Cross. Cái này là để counter được Kyogre. Sao giống team sinh ra để counter Kyogre vậy? Shadow Ball để lấy Shadow Shield. Không bao nhiêu đấy nhưng mà để giảm một bậc special depth nha. Water Spout cũng không có nhiều đam tại vì bị nắng cản lại nữa. Ôi, Exploding Fork à? Hay. Ra là vậy. Như vậy là Hùng Chắc định khó của mình là Lunala. Bây giờ thì Gallagher bị giảm nửa máu rồi cho nên Water Spout không sử dụng được nữa. Flutterman tên này là bị NDD follow me nè. Ok, cái Terragrat này là chí nè, hay thiệt. Nick rút Gallagher ra và đưa vào đưa boom. Đó, follow me thì bên kia dùng Dancing Gleam Tone cũng được. Metal Beam đánh lên Grab chừng 1 đúng không? Như vậy.
So that's really interesting as this match plays out. So now no longer has to worry about that taunt for game 1. This Lunala has become even more threatening with that boosted special attack. The taunt of the DD is pretty troublesome. You don't love to see that. The DD does have one attacking move and alluring voice, but you know, it's GS Cup. You know, you don't really want a Pokemon like that on the field just being forced to use attacks. But the early advantage there coming with that knockout, and this is probably, if I was Nick, I'd feel a little bit off balance here. You know, I was kind of thinking going in, oh, maybe it's more of a positional battle, but this more aggressive approach seems to be working really well in this matchup.
It really has, and you still have that Torkoal. So despite the fact
Giờ đưa Gallagher vào. Để lấy lại mưa. Thử coi.
Either of those two moves to really be able to take advantage of the rain, Chi-Hong has the option to bring in the Torkoal.
Yeah, and we saw how well that the Lunala was able to take the water spout. Whatever water type attack we will see here will be.
Classic lại hồng du tên lên Lunala cũng được. Nhưng mà quan trọng là du tên lên Lunala hoặc là ND hay không. Còn Gallagher thì chắc dùng Origin Pool rồi. Bên này Lunala có thể protect xong rồi để rút đi rút ra để đưa Torkoal vào, đúng không? Không thì rút ra để đưa Torkoal vào. Chắc chắn phải đưa Torkoal vào rồi.
Well, there still was also that special defense drop that the Lunala had taken, so that's another debuff that this Lunala is able to
double switch luôn. Đưa combo ball cuối ra. Vương Chisel, Calyrex cũng được để giữ đam cho EDD. Bây giờ Ribbon Vector cao lên Torkoal cũng không có ý nghĩa gì. Gallagher sử dụng Origin Pool. Ôi, cái con cần cần đam á thì nó lại không là mid. Thế mới hay.
Puts Nick in a sort of interesting situation where, hey, do you try to get rid of this Torkoal? Do you anticipate a switch maybe where, you know, you're in a situation now you really don't want to end up in a late game or that Torkoal is able to come back in under a Trick Room, could still potentially do a lot of damage. Eruption no longer looking too threatening, but again, very interesting where now the Indeedee also out of battle, so don't have to worry about it coming in and maybe messing with Rillaboom by changing the terrain. And we see the importance of that first knockout, whether you really like to cycle these Pokemon now to get your own field effects, and as soon as you start losing Pokemon, it's really tough to maintain control of those field effects.
You could still go for the U-turn, and so at least that's going to be something that Nick can use to capitalize on still having that fourth Pokemon in the back. But Chi-Hong has been so lights out with going for these manual switches, making sure that he can continue to capitalize on the weather answering
để cướp lại cái psychic terrain nè. Như vậy là Grassy không chịu nữa để bút chịu U-turn, không mất bao nhiêu máu cả và rút về đưa ra Pokemon cuối của Nick là Calyrex. Ê, cái Wincon này á, ê sai rồi nha, Hùng. Wincon này là Hùng hả? The fuck? Oh.
There is no Trick Room. This Calyrex just decides to go for the Glacial Lance, brings his Kyogre down quite low.
Không, con này thì Hùng phải Hùng phải để con Turco sống chứ.
Control of the train for the remainder of the battle. Roll going to be able to switch in once more, so we will see the grassy terrain once again. But now he's going to have to worry about this end game, right? Well, okay, so there's two different paths he could go, right? Where maybe Trick Room gets it up on the opposing side, Torko comes back in, and despite having that low HP, kind of makes a big play like we saw Ursaring make it low HP yesterday, picked up some knockouts. Or the flip side is still scary, where hey, maybe Ndidi switches out, and Lunala comes back in and starts firing off some more expanded forces. So Nick's have to play this carefully, and would really love to get a knockout to try to simplify this game a little bit.
Well, Waterspout at least is 100%.
Ôi xin full cho tao đời trời ơi. Happy hand. Như vậy là xác định. Ôi Waterspout. Rồi con nào đánh trước? Cariret đánh trước. Ôi trời ơi, voi nữa. Má con Cariret thì con Cariret này trời độ mẹ rồi.
That's pretty scary here. That's really going to make the remainder of this game trickier. You'd really like to get that lead seat on there, start winning the battle between these two Calyrex. There's already kind of the complication for Nick, where Nick, the remaining Pokemon in his team, not quite as effective in this matchup as the other ones. That Calyrex is going to be very
Cariret trời độ. Con này riêng luôn cuối. Bây giờ chỉ còn lít Lunala thôi. Xong rồi.
We see the grassy surge go down here, allow the Rillaboom to maybe get a little bit scarier, but other than one more fake out,
chưa đúng nào.
Yeah, it kind of looks like checkmate. You've got the wide guard on the Lunala as well, and taking a look at the attack this Ice Rider Calyrex has, you're really banking on this Glacial Lance to be your major source of damage for the rest of this game. Terra here.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta use it eventually, I guess, but, you know, that would cause his Glacial Lance to do more damage the other direction, which is really the threatening attack here, and I think the thing to avoid for Nick here is there any way you could avoid a couple turns here?
Rồi có spam rush của ai thôi.
Glacial Lance, and then allow a Tricker to be set up, which would probably let Torkoal come in and close this game out, despite its low HP. Not a whole lot of time left. Nick's going to have to make a decision here. He knows this game is right on the edge of getting away from him.
Ooh, that was really close for comfort in terms of how
đưa Torkoal vào.
those moves. Chihung decides to bring in the Torkoal one more time. It's a little bit awkward though when you think about it. The sun has been set for a couple of turns now. It looks like it might be expiring, and that's definitely something that the Torkoal would have loved to take advantage of. But because of the Pokemon that are left, there's not really a whole lot of need anymore to have that sun active.
Yeah, the Terastallization on Nick's side is good though. The Woodhammer going to come down here and do a bunch of damage to his Calyrex.
Yeah, that was a lot. I think even with a second Woodhammer, with the grassy terrain, that might be enough, especially after the chip of this Glacial Lance, but that Glacial Lance would have loved to be able to
Không chết kìa, trời ui, trả lại. Nhưng mà
is going to feel so nice. There were no critical hits either. So Nick knows, especially after this grassy terrain recovery, looks like it's going to take another 2 Glacial Lances to knock out these Pokemon.
Yeah, it's looking a little sketchy there for Nick, but I kind of like the way he's played this.
Không để ý một cái là nó phải trả lại cái mít lễ bằng phát critical hit. Hùng lại bị mất thế rồi. Cái đích của Hùng Vortex, Torkoal, Woodhammer.
This Ice Rider Calyrex is never going to get enough damage through for this Lunala to kind of catch up later. And so while it is just kind of a turn that you're going to play safe here from the Protect onto the Calyrex, this Torkoal comes down, the Lunala is forced to come in, and I think Nick is feeling it right now. The game win is in his sights. Despite the fact that you might have been worried about this Lunala in the endgame, you preserved your Ice Rider Calyrex, and it's trained so well to really do its job for Nick.
Yeah, it seems like you may have just had enough resources left, and now Lunala's going to come back into battle as that final Pokemon, but it's in a tough spot here where it needs to do a few too many different things. You know, has to stop the Glacial Lance with Wide Guard, but also it's the most realistic path to knocking out the opposing Calyrex with the Moongeist Beam, but also going to have to worry, you know, no longer has that Power Herb or that special attack boost after switching out of battle, so, you know, I feel like it might have needed just one more swing when it's going to get here.
Yeah, and I kind of wonder if Lunala is a trained in such a way that maybe it would be able to get the jump on either of these Pokemon, and so then it can help to support this Ice Rider Calyrex. Can Chihong get a double protect? I think that would be one thing that could keep him into this game, especially because that final Wood Hammer from the Rillaboom would be enough to knock out the Ice Rider Calyrex now.
Yeah, I think this is a really important turn where either side could kind of take it here, but yeah, I think the double protect, you hate going for it, but I think it might be necessary here, where it's just kind of hard to see a situation where there's just enough left to win without that happening.
Yeah,
Cái đất của Nick Sời Protect.
Also trying to bait out the fact that you do have that wide leg.
Oh, hit the double protect.
Gets the double protect, and that's such a big deal. Nick on this turn was banking to use this wood hammer.
Double Protect rồi. Má trời độ, bay cực. Lunala, Moongus Beam, Metal Beam mà.
Well, that's a little awkward, right? Where no longer has that power herb, so hold on, I'm gonna meteor beam you, just wait a second. But, pays off there in the sense that, that Calyrex would have had the option of hitting a super effective Glacial Lance. Ends up being a nice play there by, to avoid, or to, I guess, anticipate that not occurring, but they're just a little tenuous here, right? Neither side really made any progress there. I think very unlikely to see triple protect, so going to have to go for something different this time.
Well, are you sure?
Triple Protect à? Má nó còn lại là Triple Protect à?
Yeah, I mean, it may be required, right? Where, hey, you get even less likely to succeed on that third protect, but if you feel like, hey, I can't win at all if I don't hit it, it's still better than nothing. Really tough spot, and nice play by Nick to keep this going, right? Where I wound up getting a situation with a double protect, at least so far.
Bên kia Double Protect.
He's trying to go for it again, and maybe that's because he thinks this Lunala is going
bên kia Double Protect được.
But this Rillaboom is still a problem.
Fail.
The Nick's double protect is going to fail, and so is this. Oh no,
không. Nếu mà vậy là chúng á, chúng là win rồi. Chứ có chết không? Đủ mà critical hit luôn. Rồi, Hùng ăn rồi.
For that double protect, really wound up burning him to protect the previous turn. Usually, it's so easy to play around the meteor beam after the power herb's gone because you have to worry about that. But we're going to go for the U-turn here, do a decent amount of damage.
U-turn bao nhiêu đam?
Special attacks, but
yes, beam.
can do a lot of damage.
Yeah, even though this Rillaboom does have this self-fist, it's been taking the chip from.
Rồi, 1-0 cho Hùng. Má, trận này điên vậy, cực. Đúng điên luôn á.
Looks like you just went through a battle there. That was a very stressful match, I think. A lot of twists and turns, that one.
It was stressful for me to watch this.
It felt like it for a while. They're like, all right, this is an incredible start with that switching at the expanding force off. Seems like such a big lead. And he did a really great job of getting himself back into it. I really do think it was that turn where both the Calyrex, the protector, that kind of switched it back the other way, where going for the no power or meteor beam. You don't see players even attempt it very much. There's just so many ways it can go wrong, but it was a really good read there, kind of anticipating his opponent would anticipate the double protect and open up that opportunity. Great job there to pick up that win, and hey, on Nick's side, you probably feel a little bad about it, where if that double protect doesn't happen, your Rillaboom picks up a knockout, and we're looking at a little different ending there, but
game đúng điên. Nói cái gì? Hit con Calyrex nha, hit 2 lần, né được 2 lần, né được 2 lần, rồi double protect nữa. Quá điên, game điên vậy.
Yeah, definitely. If Nick had made a different read, you can avoid the double protect battering and all. It doesn't happen there. Nick isn't able to quite make the right read. Almost had it anyway, where I think maybe one of those reads he's making. All right, if I get the read right, I win. If I get the read wrong, I still like my odds. Didn't wind up working out that time, but I think that was just a fascinating game one to start this set with in so many different ways. If I'm Nick, I was really expecting a different game plan from my opponent, and I think that makes this team preview really tricky. Now, as you know, on the brink of elimination, where this is the final round of Swiss, so these players must win this set to stay in the tournament, but also now Nick's down 0-1. He had a very kind of unconventional approach from his opponent there, and it makes team preview so tricky, where, will he try to play this matchup again similarly in game two, or will we maybe see some of the more defensive positions positioning-based battle we kind of expect from this sort of matchup.
But especially when Chihong on paper does have the negative side of the matchup, you do expect Nick to win. This is such a huge blessing for Chihong. Now you've got two chances when you look at it from his perspective to win.
Yeah, and I think that could be really big here because what we saw in that previous game, there's a lot of really cool synergies on this team, and he only has to find it one more time over the course of 2 sets. Really seeing the value of this player's experience as well.
Win and in.
The champion of the event in Taiwan showing us why, using the same team once again, and could be a team that's strong enough to give him the World Championships as we see a familiar Pokemon starting the battle here.
We sure do. So we'll see this turn play out exactly like we did in that game number 1. The Kyogre sets the rain, Torkoal takes it away, and then Fluttermane gets a very nice accidental photosynthesis boost.
Yeah, I love this here where, again, this is a pretty aggressive lead by the Sun side of the field, right? Where Torkoal kind of exposed, Lunala kind of exposed. You don't really have an option of a really defensive setup here. You can try to go for a Trick Room. I think that would be a little scary, but maybe it works this time, right? After that really aggressive play the previous time, it kind of puts Nick on the back foot, like, oh, I don't want to take that huge expanding force again that made that matchup really tricky. So I'm excited to see how this plays out. I really think this is such an intricate matchup to try to play a best of 3 in. I do think taking that first game was just such a huge advantage mentally.
Absolutely. You could see actually Nick is really struggling for this first turn to kind of figure out what to do. Knowing how that turn 1 of game 1 played out, the Indeedee switched in, the Lunala went for this gigantic expanding force, and it already
Torkoal
quite low
Indeedee ra.
later on in the game. And as we see this game 2 play out,
Những cái rết
Ice Rider Calyrex has a small adjustment here from Chihong, which makes me think
Chihong
is a Trick Room angle.
Yeah, I think to do. I don't know if I could have clicked taunt here if I was Nick, where it just seems like it's so risky if you get what you had the previous game. But get the Terastallization once again, I think that just kind of makes sense given this matchup. Lunala can't afford to take too much damage from this Kyogre. It did do a decent amount of damage to Water Spout even in the Sun last time.
Well, the Moonblast helps to break the Shadow Shield again as the Kyogre follows that up with the Water Spout. But this Lunala is still so healthy, and Chihong knows this Trick Room is so free, and you've got 2 fantastic Pokemon in the Trick Room to take advantage of it right away.
And what an incredible way to do this, right? Where we don't really see any of the support Pokemon, still gets the turn 1 Trick Room, doesn't really get any significant damage on his side of the field for it, has the weather control, and has both of them restricted on the field for all
để đánh tới top kết.
I don't know if I could quite have imagined this when we were looking at the
Chính là nãy đánh round 9 round 10 round. Coi nó vào top kết coi top kết như thế nào rồi. Gồng được game là ngủ.
This is some special gameplay that we're seeing.
But that's exactly what you called out the taunt on the Fluttermane, and I think this is the reason why. How easy is it for you to lock down any of the 3 Trick Room Pokemon on the team with that taunt specifically? And so if you're Nick, you just have to look at trying to stall out these turns of Trick Room. Oddly enough, Chihong is taking this first one to just go for a protect onto this Ice Rider Calyrex, but he is feeling it with his Moonlight Beam into the Fluttermane. You are going to be dealing a massive amounts of damage, putting this Fluttermane down to its Focus Sash, but that means on the subsequent turns, Ice Rider Calyrex is faster. This Fluttermane does not have too much longer left in the second game.
Oh, and it attacks into the protect, so Nick's not going to get anything out of that turn, and just like you said, that Fluttermane, Nick would almost have been better off if that was knocked out there. Now has a very quick 1 HP Pokemon in Trick Room, which makes it a very slow 1 HP Pokemon, and Calyrex like, ooh, that looks good. I feeling a little chilling nay coming up here, so tough spot for Nick, and you also, if you want to switch out of battle, try to avoid giving an attack boost, that's really risky too. It's really Kyogre you'd love to switch out here in order to try to get a position where you can get control of the weather again, and things are looking really bleak for Nick here. This matchup seems so good, but it's just such a strange way to play the matchup, so clever on his opponent's side, and Nick just hasn't been able to find any answers here.
I think either way, you have to give up the Fluttermane here. Everything that looks like it's in the back, you don't want to switch in your Ice Rider Calyrex to be able to take 2 attacks. And especially if you suspect that something like a Shadow Ball might be going that way too, or Moongeist is not something that you want to deal with. So Nick, unfortunately, in the second game, has to give up this chilling nade boost over to this Ice Rider Calyrex, and that's where things can start to get very spicy, because as soon as Ice Rider Calyrex is off to the races, it really can't start to run away with things. And now the Meteor Beam from this Lunala too, both of these Pokemon are huge threats.
It's okay, I'd like a boost too, and after all that damage, Kyogre is almost going to get knocked out as well.
Chết kìa, Kyogre không chết hả đúng. Không chết luôn. Ôi. Bây giờ thôi gãy rồi Calyrex.
It's funny, Kyogre is pretty low on HP as well, and well, normally a Calyrex entering the field during Trick Room is so exciting. Neither is Pokemon quite ready to be knocked out. They just have to worry about a potential wide guard, and maybe if you're a Nick, like, okay, well, I'm threatening this, I can try to reverse the Trick Room, but if you do that, it's just a double attack, the game is going
Rush của lên thôi.
Really important play for
thế thôi.
Get away with this Glacial Lance? Can you get away with a Leech Seed? Is Trick Room going to be available? If Nick doesn't get this call right, it is over.
It looks so safe though for Chi-Hong to just go for the wide guard and Glacial Lance on his side, since you don't have wide guard from Nick to worry about. You know you're going to get the knockout on the Kyogre, unless the Kyogre goes for the protect. But this Calyrex still would not be able to get any damage through. And how much is the Leech Seed really going to add up for the rest of this game?
Yeah, we'll have to see. Kyogre is going to get the protect here, decides that, hey, you know, I don't want to be a chilling nade boost yet.
Ooh, but with the opposing Glacial Lance, we now see that there's no wide guard having been selected for this Lunala. Calyrex as an ice type is going to take the Glacial Lance just a little bit better, especially because it's bulky. It does land the Leech Seed this time around onto Chi-Hong's own Calyrex ice. Expanding Force 2, Chi-Hong did not get that call right. I think Nick one turn now, needs a couple more to get ready to get through this Trick Room successfully, but that's a good start.
Yeah, it's pretty big where, the Calyrex not likely to want to leave battle on the opposing side of the field, so this Leech Seed could really pay off. The Calyrex and Nick's side of the field going to end this turn almost at full HP, and now you're cooking a little bit, right? You still have to worry about, I think why his opponent played the turn the way he did is like, well, okay, well, that's unfortunate, but I still have a turn here where I'm threatening a knockout to that slot, so Kyogre, you're going to switch out, or I'm going to pick that knockout out, and still feeling pretty good. We see that final Pokemon is Rillaboom here. Also not a Pokemon who looks super excited about the idea of taking a boosted Glacial Lance, and once Trick Room expires, things get a little bit scary here. Kyogre would love Trick Room to expire. The Calyrex would not, facing down that boosted Lunala and losing its speed advantage potentially, so still a tough spot for Nick.
It is, and I think that's where you have to look at this next critical turn here from Chi-Hong to actually now, as we see here, preserve the Lunala. After getting that Meteor boost, it feels bad again, but Chi-Hong said it's okay in that first game, and it worked out beautifully for him, and now you've got your Torkoal back onto the field to hopefully get through these next couple of turns, and you are also going to be able to take this Ice Rider Calyrex just a little bit better, but we see Chi-Hong is able to go first. Got this attack boost onto this Ice Rider Calyrex, took a knockout onto the Rillaboom, and so now Nick is stuck with just his Kyogre next to the Ice Rider Calyrex, but at least you get weather control for 2 turns.
Yeah, it's Kyogre's going to be able to come back in for free, but first this Glacial Lance will come down. The damage does matter. You're going to see the Leech Seed attack this Calyrex at the end of the turn as well, and the HP is going to start adding up here. Not a whole lot of health left for this Calyrex. Will heal a little bit before the Leech Seed comes in with the grassy terrain, and after about 47 different end of turn effects, the Calyrex is going to be very healthy.
Tính ra tự bóp luôn đó.
Kyogre going to switch back in eventually with its low HP, and while
game vẫn căng nha.
And the Drizzle is going to be set for Nick. He had to pay just an incredible amount of resources to get through this Trick Room. Really only got the Leech Seed on the opposing Calyrex. A bit of damage, more than a bit of damage on the Calyrex, in exchange for his Rillaboom, his Flutter Mane, and almost all of his
Origin Pool thôi.
This is a tough turn though, and Nick is going to have to hope this Origin Pulse lands onto both targets. From here, the Ice Rider Calyrex is surely going to pick up the final bit of HP on Chi-Hong's, but Kyogre is on its last couple of legs for the rest of this game too, and Nick needs this Origin Pulse to land.
Yeah, I mean, it would pick up both knockouts if it happened. However, on the other side of the field, like, well, I could give up those 2 KOs if I think my 2 back Pokemon beat these 2 Pokemon. But since Nick can't switch anymore, you have a lot of freedom on the other side of the field, right? Okay, well, I can pick what 2 Pokemon wind up on the field at the end of his turn. Maybe I sacrifice one of these Pokemon, I need the other for the end game. We do see a switch here. He's like,
Không rút Torkoal vào. Đưa ra đi. Phá sản.
It's revealed as Chihong's fourth and final. Same Pokemon then that we saw in that first game, just in a bit of a different order. And this Calyrex Ice going for the Protect does make things just a little bit trickier as we see it's able to hang on for a little bit longer. Next turn though, if it gets knocked out, maybe we see this Indeedee be able to go for the Trick Room. And it just has to get sacrificed here. Absolutely. The Origin Pulse connects, and with this Glacial Lance to follow it up, now Nick actually kind of comfortably back in this. Full HP Calyrex almost.
Khó rồi nè. Giờ là khó đây.
I mean, you don't hate that if you're Nick, right? But you get the knockout, the Pokemon count is getting similar.
Giờ đưa Toko ra.
His opponent chose that, right? That was
Giờ đưa Toko ra. Giờ đưa Toko ra là hết vị.
The only other thing that really could have happened was a Trick Room. The Calyrex still almost going to get knocked out here, so looks like it only has a single turn left if nothing changes. But the assumption then is like, okay, well, I thought that Nick would do that. I thought that move, and now this is the combination of Pokemon that I need. Lunala coming out here can't protect, so the assumption here is like, all right, this is the decisive turn. This is the two Pokemon. My Calyrex either going down or switching, which seems unlikely here because
không, cái này nó Metal Beam, đúng không? Xài Metal Beam cho ta. Nếu mà chưa xài Metal Beam mà căng á.
I guess to get rid of the rain, but then even still, this Kyogre with this Mystic Water has still been
không muốn giết được.
damage through that weather.
Má pha này muốn giết là ngon rồi. Đưa chip đem nó về. Nãy giờ muốn giết cũng khó. Mà không biết là Mental Beam xài chưa. Power Up phải xài chưa nữa. Để ra nãy muốn giết là ngon rồi.
To be the translation of choice for Nick as we see the rest of this turn play out. Kyogre first to protect, and Chihong may be able to weave something in here like a Trick Room, but the Lunala just tries to go standing force and misses the KO onto the Kyogre, and is able to do a significant chunk to this Calyrex, but of course you were probably hoping to get a little bit more. And now with the Ice-type Glacial Lance, Terra Grass Lunala is down for the count, and Nick gets away with 2 boosts now to this Calyrex Ice Rider with only that Torkoal left. It's a looking grim.
Hey, you know, the type trait doesn't matter too much when you have that much boosted attack, and you know, Torkoal's going to come in and theoretically have some advantage. You know, it's going to have its drought up against Kyogre. It's going to, you know, be healthy or something. But yeah, you can't. It looks so bad for Nick, right? He was really behind there, but was able to battle back in this one. Kyogre staying in the field's a big deal too. Continues to add complication for this Torkoal, and hey, you know, maybe the wrong Pokemon was preserved after all.
Now, Glacial Lance is going to be resisted by this Torkoal, but because of how the 3 boosts now that this Ice Rider Calyrex has gotten, you're so right, sometimes it doesn't matter. It just matters that you've got a ton of damage. I'm not going to do the math there. But this, I mean, this Kyogre, does it just finish it off before the Ice Rider can? And it, I mean, there you go. Origin Pulse in the rain is also going to be single target into a super effective Torkoal. So that is going to be Nick Navarre tying up this series. We've got 1 game apiece, and it all comes down to this 3rd game to see who will move forward to this World Championship top cut.
Man, what a fun set this has been so far. Nick had a tough start to that game, really had to give up a lot in Trick Room, but not too much, right? And I think that's kind of just this format. You know, the Pokemon in this format deal so much damage, and again, there's been such clever use of the Trick Room on this team that they're going to have to take some damage, but able to keep Calyrex healthy and just really dominated that game. And, if we think back to game 1, hey, you know, maybe if the Leech Seeds hits, we see something more similar to what we saw in game 2. So both trainers maybe back to the drawing board here. But I'm feeling pretty good if I'm Nick. A little bit sketchy where he had to make some reads. That he saw the same thing as game 1, was able to beat it this time, I think probably gives him some confidence going to the decisive game with the set.
Yeah, but maybe this time around, does Chihong then just decide to go for, if you go for the Trick Room again, does Nick then say, okay, I'll just taunt you this time around? It's a really tough call when you've seen these 2 games already play out in such a different fashion.
Đến mà
lead as well as that first turn is so critical.
Wincon là cái Moonjist Beam phải có power hub kìa. Còn mang ngựa theo nữa chứ. Ui.
For the Sun team to keep the advantage of the field because once that starts slipping away, it's really tricky. And yet with both weather and the terrain sort of being necessary, there's a lot of switching you have to do to be ready to attack, and not a whole lot of attacking, which I think is some of how Nick was able to get through that. I'm still shocked though, where that it just seemed like such incredible positioning. Turn 2 of game 2, where both restricted Pokemon are out there ready to fire away. We see a great read on the first turn of the Trick Room as well. It just seems so decisive, but Nick was still able to battle it back. And I mean, that's just so scary where, I think I would be very tempted to change things up on the other side of the field despite the game 1 win, just because it felt like RNG aside, that was about as good as it could go.
But I kind of wonder maybe if Chi-Hong can change things up just a little bit, where that Torkoal is doing more. We already called this out in game number 1. It was primarily there just to make sure that it had control of the weather. But it's got to do more than that. This thing has Terra Fire. It's got choice specs. How much damage it's able to do with Eruption and Weather Ball is just so immense when you've got all those additional modifiers on top of it. Plus this thing has Solar Beam. In the sun, we'll send it at the Kyogre.
Yeah, we haven't seen it attack at all, right? And this team's a little tricky there. We've got 3 Pokemon that can't use Protect and 2 Pokemon that can't attack. So, they're kind of all one direction or another.
Hùng Lít, Lunala và Torkoal vẫn là cái bài cũ.
I like what I've done the previous games. I
Nhưng mà
think the lead combination is going to send me to the top of this World Championships.
It's gonna have to be make or break for either Chi-Hong or Nick. They can see that final hurdle in sight. But once again, as we saw in games 1 and 2, it's gonna be the same leads, preview, and
Nick tìm ra được công thức để win Team Hùng rồi. Thì team này Team Hùng phải cố gắng predict các kiểu.
But it still worked out last game for Nick, right? Where you kind of got like the worst case scenario and it was still okay. So do you make the same move again, or do you think, hey, I don't know if I can survive giving that much up? Nick doing a great job of taking all his time, thinking this through. This is a choice with a lot of consequences. We'll have to see what the trainers choose to do here.
Yeah, really big, risky call, because if Chi-Hong decides to go all out onto the attack, this could backfire in a major way. But with the Torkoal taking its lead, we will see it replaced with the
Urshifu.
What a big change up here for the second game, but the taunt into
Rồi
the
xong.
and there's also no Terra.
Xong.
Water spout now going through with full HP. This Urshifu has to go over 50% of its health with the move in, and Lunala gets its Trick Room completely shut out.
Yeah, things looking great for Nick there, and it was a great read. Chio's probably thinking, oh, I didn't trick him the first 2 games. Surely I can get away with it in game 3, but not so fast. Nick calls the taunt. Urshifu going to switch in. That is the single strike Urshifu, not the rapid strike Urshifu that we know and love. This Urshifu really
Xong rồi, không chết trong được thì không đánh được rồi.
The Kyogre has the speed advantage, and suddenly Nick's looking really good after seeming so doomed at the beginning of game 2.
I mean, this is what we should expect out of
lát đi á.
He's been playing VGC for almost over a decade. Not only a 2-time regional champion, but also having multiple top cut performances in these huge international competitions. And he's able to get that call right in these game 3s. You know he's been here before. The work's not cut out just yet, as Nick is going to be moving into this next turn with a Rillaboom switch in. And this Fluttermane has full control right now.
Yeah, I mean, the Fluttermane kind of just got knocked out quickly the previous game. This time it's out for revenge. It's the quickest Pokemon on the field. No longer have to worry about any potential Trick Room shenanigans. Lunala forced to Terastallize, even though it's in a pretty awkward spot here without weather control and facing these Pokemon down. Sucker Punch going to fail with another clever switch. Nick's made yet another read.
Moonblast lên. Xong chóc rồi, chóc lòi luôn rồi. GG. Bạn có thể, ngày mai bạn có thể về nước.
Maybe you're able to weave in just a bit more damage with the Meteor Beam from the Lunala as you get this special attack boost and the power urge to be able to make it go quickly. That unfortunately has to hit into the Rillaboom, and the assault vest and the typing allows
chấp lòi luôn chứ.
Yeah, and this is the first time we've seen Nick take a Pokemon advantage.
Đánh đéo gì nữa.
2-0
Thiệt.
and 2-1 at the end of the
Mà
previous
thiệt
game.
đéo gì nữa.
The field effects, even when he was at the Pokemon disadvantage, kind of like slowly trended toward his favor because of natural type advantages. I think having the Pokemon advantage is even more devastating here. Calyrex going to come out. It could also potentially use a Trick Room here, but Flutter Mane able to use a taunt if it's needed, and Nick's got a pretty great positioning
Giờ cứ
here.
Glaxwell lên thôi.
She foolish that previous turn, and he could be right about to send himself to the top cut.
I mean, it's tough here too because this Ice Rider Calyrex, not only can it not terrestrialize, but you're staring down a Flutter Mane that's able to hit you with a Shadow Ball. This Rillaboom, we've seen how much it can do on top of grass terrain with the Wood Hammers. That might just be enough for a knockout.
Yeah, I mean, either of these Pokemon could be in a lot of danger here, and that terrestrialization's already been committed. In the previous games, the grass terrestrialization for Lunala has been so impactful, but this game it hasn't done anything, and it makes this turn a lot easier to play for Nick because he knows there's no terrestrialization to worry about.
And you can just go for the fake out onto the Ice Rider Calyrex and go for that extra offensive game plan on the next turn. The Moongeist Beam will help out a little bit to make sure that this Flutter Mane is a bit easier.
Cái đấy là cái Moongeist Beam nó dành cho con Calyrex.
Ice Rider Calyrex, you cannot set up Trick Room this turn.
Yeah, now it's sort of a tricky spot. Previously in this set, that 1 HP Flutter Mane has looked like fast food for the Calyrex, but this time it's going to be a pretty expensive meal with it being the quickest Pokemon in the field. If you want to pick that knockout up, you have to take a lot of risk where attacks between these two Pokemon could likely pick up the knockout in the Calyrex. The great thing, though, is that the taunt has just worn off. So now potentially either of these Pokemon use Trick Room. All of the options are available for both trainers, but Nick is still right on the precipice again. But he was right on the precipice of losing before, and it was able to be turned around. So we'll have to see if his opponent can do the same thing.
Still not over yet, especially if you are managing to get that Trick Room set up on either of these Pokemon.
Tha cho nhau đi trời. Thiệt, tha cho nhau đi. Cảm ơn nhiều. Hãy tha cho nhau khi có thể.
Waiting in the back, it's really, really tough from here.
Terra Fairy.
Is going to commit its Terra.
I wonder if you're trying to see maybe a Moonblast and a U-turn could pick up the knockout in this Lunala, which maybe sets up a world where the Kyogre could finish the game off.
Moonblast được. Không chết. Mà giảm sẽ phải sao tắt. Lộn. U-turn chết luôn. Rồi, Grass vượt lên. Grass vượt lên. Đừng đem ném Kyogre ra nha. Rồi.
For now, it's going to be the Calyrex at Nick's side of the field entering the battlefield once again. Can take any attacks here pretty well and kind of just be a nice pivot here without sending Kyogre back out and changing the weather before Torkoal gets back in.
In the Glacial Lands, I think Chi-Hong would have loved to be able to pick off that Rillaboom on the other side, but you will settle for a low HP.
Má ném mon có tính speed không ta? Nếu mà tính speed cũng ẻ đó.
Please get some resources in that Chilling Neigh will give an attack boost, and we saw how big of a difference that can make even in a troublesome game in Game 2 for the Calyrex at Nick's side of the field, but things are a little bit bleaker here. No Trick Room setup this time. Torkoal going to need to enter the battlefield as the final Pokemon on his side of the field. Rillaboom is going to come out for Nick here, enabling him to switch out of the counter whenever he wants to and get the weather control for the remainder of this battle.
That is tough though, because you are in a spot where you have a couple of decisions you can make. If you're the Rillaboom, do you go for the fake out onto this Ice Rider Calyrex? Are you actually okay with switching in this Kyogre in order to take an attack from the Torkoal? And you have the choice specs. I mean, that is a good thing for Nick to know, is that this Torkoal has to lock into something for the rest of this game.
Yeah, that's true, where Eruption is pretty scary here, where normally you'd love to use it, but even if you get one big Eruption off, then what, right? Where there's no way you're ending this turn with speed control, because I think that the fake out is almost certainly going to come down to the Calyrex. I think it's a pretty telegraphed play. And yeah, I think the fake out onto the Calyrex is switching to the Kyogre is really tough to deal with. The Torkoal can't protect next turn, so if Kyogre doesn't miss one of its spread moves, it's just going to knock the Torkoal out, and this Calyrex is going to be isolated against 3 Pokemon, potentially one of which can lead seed it.
Chính thức hết vị.
Comes in, it sets the rain and sets the pace for the rest of this third game. Chi-Hong is going to play it a little bit safe too, with this Ice Rider Calyrex deciding to go for the protect. So Rillaboom isn't quite able to land the mark, but Torkoal has to lock into something. It is going to be the Weather Ball. So that's
they're not quite able to knock out its own protecting Calyrex. Maybe we're having a little fun here, given that this game has kind of gotten out of hand, and kind of regardless of what happened there, maybe wanting to deliberately not knock the Rillaboom out and provide his free switch there. Regardless, though, I think Nick really likes his positioning here, where not really any way to avoid a water spout knock on the Torkoal. This Wood Hammer is going to come down, and at the end of his turn, I think Nick will have an insurmountable advantage.
Yeah, Chihong is already getting ready to shake Nick's hand after the water
Xong.
spout is able to secure the final 2 knockouts. And congratulations, Nick Navarre finds himself once again
Do bạn ngu bạn ơi.
at the World Championships with another chance to
Do bạn ngu.
What an impressive victory there.
Một người vào nó vào switch ra. Bé bạn ngu bạn ơi. Bé bạn ngu ơi, tên đầu bạn chiếc room là mẹ gì. Tên đầu tên đầu chạy speed với nó luôn thì may ra em có cửa thắng chứ đúng quá thì chiếc room xong rồi mũ luôn.
Sort of line to read into, and he was able to find the right way through the game. I think the other thing I'd really love to just identify that Nick did so well there is he took 45 seconds almost every turn, right? I think that was a really complicated game. Obviously, the stakes were as high as they're ever going to be in the Swiss version of the tournament, and he made sure he made his best move every play. A lot of lock-ins at 1 second, and I just thought that was such like a mature, experienced way to approach that situation. Really proud of him, kind of, you know?
Super meticulous and such a job well done here for Nick Navarre. But I want to give some major kudos to Chihong, because in this tough matchup, you were still able to win that first game off the back of quite an unconventional lead and game plan. And unfortunately, while you weren't able to make it through the final 2 games to find yourself into the top cut, Chihong still finishes off this tournament as one of the best performing players from the Asia-Pacific region, comes in as the Taiwanese Master Ball champion. It's just such a difficult feat to accomplish, so congratulations.
Yeah, absolutely. Incredible run, right? Where I was kind of expecting that this was going to be a quick one, where like there's a world where just looking at the team matchups that Nick kind of stomps that one, but I thought there's just a great plan, you know, and Ching wound up being like 1 read really away in game 2 from making that top cut instead, where I think it was just so impressive in such a challenging matchup. We were really kind of wondering how this team could possibly stand up to a Kyogre, but I mean, we all saw, right, where it was just that close, and I just think this is such a fun team. You know, no one else is really using anything like this. We haven't seen a whole lot of Kyogre at all, really, but Torkoal rather at all. And just there's so many ways that it can beat you. In single strike Urshifu, right? We do see it on the hard trick room sometimes, but I think it's the first one we've had on stream all weekend. And it just, it was fun, right? Where I think it's not, again, it's an archetype that I think people would not have put super high on their tier list, but this was a different way of playing it. And I think it probably opened a lot of people's eyes that, hey, you know, this team composition is a little stronger than I thought it was.
I mean, we saw last year at the World Championships, Diego Ferreira was able to do so well at Worlds with a hard trick room archetype. Chihong is going to be able to follow up with a similar way. And it's kind of like some interesting things to point out between these 2 players. Chihong had not played against a Kyogre at all in the World Championships up till this point. There were only 4 in our second phase of competition for our Swiss rounds today. And Chihong also had the only Torkoal. I don't know, just like some fun facts for everybody at home.
Yeah, I mean, a little unlucky matchup, right? Where maybe anyone but Nick, and that goes a little bit better. I'm just so impressed, because I think when we saw, like, oh, you know, like, oh, you avoided Kyogre so far, but this is a tough time where, you know, sometimes, matchup roulette gets you sometimes. But no, I mean, that's a great game plan where, you know, I think a player beneath Nick's caliber probably loses that set despite the apparent advantages. And I'm kind of eager to watch that one back. Yeah, I think it's tough to like really follow everything perfectly when you have to talk over it. But I don't think I've ever really seen the Torkoal side of the matchup play things that way. And there's just so many different interesting little looks to his team. I'd love to see how it plays some other matchups too. You know, we didn't get to see the Smeargle at all, and I think that's a lot of fun too. You know, unlike a lot of the other Smeargle players, this Smeargle still has Decorate, which we kind of seen sort of in the middle of this format.
Yeah.
And I think you know, there's a lot of Pokemon on this team. Like, oh man, they would be real scary with a Decorate boost. So just such a great team concept.
I love it, and I think I've always appreciated the creativity that a lot of the Asia Pacific players have brought. I think we look at some of these smaller Asia Pacific regions as being able to bring something that's a little bit out of pocket, but then Japan, of course, also bringing the edge when it comes down to these creative team compositions. But the winner of this match was Nick Navarre, who will be moving forward into our top cut. So let's hear what he has to say.
Thank you so much, Rosemary. I'm here with Nick Navarre, who just locked in his second ever top cut at the World Championships. Congratulations, Nick.
Thank you, Gabby. It's great to be here, and
thứ hai à? Ý là đợt thứ hai vào top cut à?
my favor. Yeah.
So how did day one of the competition go for you? This is our first time checking in with you this weekend.
Yeah, I was on
Cảm giác như thế nào khi lần đầu tiên được vào top cut?
the other broadcast for one of my sets, and I got absolutely smoked by Shoma. That was round 2, and I brought it back from 1-1 to make the 6-2, and won my 2 sets today. I was doing really well against Zamazenta.
Gì coi podcast rồi coi stream các kiểu để
my first win this tournament that wasn't over Zamazenta. That's some fun trivia.
Nói chung là kể về cái hành trình
Now I have to ask, were you
chắc
prepared
thế.
for Zamazenta coming into this tournament, or is that just a happy accident?
I mean, it's just what the pairings spit out. Like my team clicks a lot of spread moves, so there's definitely some Zamazenta teams that can be tricky, but just a lot of stuff went my way. Like I don't know, just some breaks. I mean, it's Pokemon, so stuff happens.
I mean, you say that you got some breaks, but we also saw you make some incredible reads in that last game against Ji-Hoon. I want to take it back especially to game number 2, where it felt like there was a really distinct turning point where the momentum started to go in your favor. Where do you think that you were able to sort of take command of that match and start sort of piloting towards your win condition?
Yeah, so the early turns went really poorly for me, but there's this one pivotal turn in the middle where I got to get a leech seed on his Ice Rider, and he expanding forced instead of Moongeist beaming. He was really torn up about that one, visibly, but because I think I lost the game if he had gone for Moongeist, but I didn't see better lines than hoping he didn't, and he didn't. So I'm still here.
Fair enough. And then going into game number 3, there was that turn 1 where you went for the taunt onto the Lunala. Was that like a confident read on your part, or were you just hoping that he wouldn't attack?
Yeah, I mean, he could have done either one, and either one would have been viable. Just, I got it right in game 3 after getting it wrong in game 2. I did get it right in game 1, but it wasn't that big of a payoff. So, I mean, I did decide that taunt was probably the better move there, but the fact that I opted out of it in game 1 and 2 did, push it more in that side's favor.
All right, well, but real quick, I also want to talk about your team, because we saw you get top 32 at NAIC with Kyogre and Calyrex Ice Rider, but you had a Basculesian going on there. You know, it was a bit of a more unique take. What were you thinking for the team coming into this tournament? Were you trying to find a more consistent build?
So I really like Basque still. Just it's got the problem where it's weak to Ghost, and Calyrex Shadow Rider is really oppressive. So you kind of need it to not be weak to Ghost. That was the main decision point on that. Otherwise, I really do like Basculesian. Last Respects is really strong, and I mean, it just needs it has some fun modes that it can go into on the team, and it doesn't have to Terra to be a Ghost type. It does a lot of stuff that I really prefer, but it just doesn't. It's not tenable in one of the matchups that we needed. So it's an Urshifu. Urshifu's pretty good too.
All right, well, maybe in Regulation H it'll make a comeback, or maybe not. Who knows? All right, well, thank you so much, Nick. Any shout-outs you want to give to anybody at home?
Oh, I've got tons of shout-outs. Shout-outs to my parents first. I love you guys. Tub Nation, I love you guys too. Amberflight Gaming, specifically Gavin Michaels for building the team and honestly doing a bunch of the refining between Nats and Worlds, and helping me with matchups, and just really carrying me, honestly. Shout-outs to Gavin. He drowned in day 1, but I'll do what I can to carry on the team's legacy. There's got to be a million more shout-outs. Hopefully this isn't my last time doing shout-outs, but I'm not going to proclaim that I'm going to give my shout-outs later. That'd be silly. But yeah, everyone, if you know that I love you, if I forgot to give you a shout-out right now.
All right, well, Nick, thank you so much. Best of luck in Top Cut. We want to give you plenty of time to prepare because this tournament is going to keep rolling on. We have our Top Cut players getting ready to continue the competition, so we're going to take a break while they get ready, and we'll be back real soon.
Lột nha.
Chip Ritchie here, and I'm catching up with Tate Duncan, who is a first-time competitor at this Worlds, and I'm also joined by his mom, Luarna. Tate, how are you feeling, man? Your very first Worlds.
Well, I think it's amazing. Like, my first Worlds, this is like my second year, and I've already made it, which is phenomenal.
It is phenomenal. Congratulations on your success just to get to this point. Tell us a little bit about your background. How'd you get started playing Pokemon cards?
Well, first to me, it was just a hobby opening packs. Then once I came over to the store, hearing that there was this TCG game, so that's how I started. Now my road to Worlds was a friend, Wilbur Smith, actually went to Worlds Honolulu last year, and Mum and I realized that this was a real thing. So one day I thought we should get into this, and here I am.
And here you are, just like that, snap of a fingers, and here we are. I want to ask you, Mom, do you have a favorite moment from this season, kind of traveling and watching Tate compete and get to this accomplishment?
Yeah, it's been a long season, so I think actually locking in Worlds was a favourite because you don't really know if we're going to make it or not. So many cups and challenges and a lot of coaching, and then travelling for regionals and travelling for internationals, but locking it in was just relief and just excitement.
What about you, Tate? Did you have a favorite moment this year?
Oh, a favourite moment this year? Well, at Brisbane, a boy named Charlie went almost undefeated and won the whole thing, except he lost one match, and guess who beat him? I was the only one who beat him.
So you were able to defeat the champion. Maybe you're the champion, you know, in our hearts. Absolutely. Well, talk to us about this Worlds. What are you most looking forward to? What are you expecting to get out of this weekend?
I don't really care about my results that much, despite, like, trying to do well. Like, I really hope to have a lot of fun, and, like, that's what I originally had TCG for.
And what do you hope for Tate this weekend, Mom?
Also to have a lot of fun, and he's met so many people that we're now friends with, and we've met in New Orleans and we met in London, and yeah, just to support everyone, and it's just not only the juniors, it's the seniors and the masters as well. It's the whole community and backing the Australian team or the Oceania team. Yeah.
And I'll ask you one last question, Mom. Do you have any tips to any parents out there? I'm sure a lot of parents have similar stories to Tate, you know, gets into the cards, opens some packs, starts wanting to play. What would your advice to them be?
I think the biggest thing is you have to commit. When we decided that we're going for Worlds and really trying hard for cups and challenges, we're about 700 kilometres for a round trip for us to go to cups and challenges. Yeah, so it was a commitment, and he was super keen, he was dedicated, he put in the training, and you need to commit. Get your cups, get your challenges, and commit to regionals and commit to practice, and then hopefully to internationals. And the internationals are just the most amazing events, and this is just the icing on the cake, isn't it? The cherry on top. Like, making it to Worlds was phenomenal. But yeah, you have to commit to the child. It's like any sport. Do the practice, do the training, find the cards, and hopefully have success.
All right, Tate, you got any last words you want to say to anyone out there?
Well, I want to give shout-outs to my coach, Ollie Hands, and Kieran Farah for coaching me. Thank you if you're watching this. And have fun.
And good luck to all the Aussies and all the competitors.
Good luck to everyone out there. Best of luck to you this weekend, Tate, at Worlds.
Thank you.
Well, Welcome back, trainers. Jim Lawson here in Anaheim, California for the Pokemon World Championships 2025. I'm standing by with Chip Ritchie, who's going to be acting as our tour guide here at the Pokemon World Championships History Museum.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. This is a very exciting installment. It's become one of my favorite things they've done at Worlds the last couple of years. A really great look back into the history of Pokemon Worlds, the biggest event every single year. There's a timeline so you can see where we've been in the past. You get to see examples of competitor kits from years past, the incredible different Pikachu and other Pokemon plushies, promo cards, past World Championship decks, and also a wall of champions as well.
Ooh, it sounds exciting. Shall we take a look?
Let's do it.
All right, Chip, behind us we have case after case of plushies featuring all types of styles from World Championships past. What can you tell us about the plushies?
Yeah, this is one of my favorite pieces of Worlds every single year. For a long time, it was just Pikachu that they would feature decked out in some sort of decor or clothing or some statement piece for the culture of the area where the World Championships was being held. And the most recent World Championships as well, Pikachu's been joined by tons of other casts of characters. One of my personal favorites from this year is that Machamp with the Letterman jacket.
I love the Machamp, absolutely. I noticed though, Chip, wasn't the first time that we've seen a plushie from Anaheim. It's not our first time in Anaheim for the World Championships.
Yeah, that's right. This is actually the third time the Pokemon World Championships have been held here in Anaheim. Previously, 2006 and 2017 took place in this same building.
Well, we have lots more to look at. Let's move on to the next exhibit. We're here at the Wall of Champions, recognizing champions from tournaments past from all games. Chip, walk us through what trainers can expect here at the Wall of Champions.
Yeah, you get to see a feature of each of the trainers who became a world champion that year in each age division, each different pillar of the franchise, alongside the Pokemon they used, be it on their team, with their friends on Pokemon Unite, or their trading card game deck list. This is just one of the many different features here at the World Championships History Museum. So much more to see, Jim.
And what I can't wait for is later on this weekend, we're going to be adding more names to that Wall of Champions. So make sure you stay tuned for the rest of the action.
We give our players some time to relax before we get into those key battles. Now, we know who's going to be in Top Cut. We have a little bit of knowledge on their teams, their play styles, their histories, but we also have a feature match prepped. So what I figure is we can have that footage on in the background while we, talk about the match a little bit if we're feeling it, but we can also go ahead and talk about the Top Cut coming up because we have the footage from the side TV. We show the footage from the side TV. Am I right?
Yeah. I feel like this is the best problem to have when there's so much going on and so much to talk about that it's like, I guess we have to have all of it, right?
Yeah. And you can listen with your ears to what we're saying. You can watch with your eyes with what's going on. And then your brain does two things at once and you feel productive. It's great. I love it. Yeah.
That's a value.
Yeah.
They're getting 2 for 1 here on the Video Game Championship Series Scream. So real quick before we go to talk about our Top Cut, this match will be Joji Kaeda versus Masayoshi Kuro. And there you see the leads on the stream. And let's go ahead and while we get this match started, I'm going to go ahead and pull out my handy dandy cheat sheet and pull up the bracket because we have a buy-in round for Top Cut as it is an asymmetrical Top Cut. And those matches will be Nick Navarre, who we just saw on stream, versus Carlos Cabal. Maddie Morgan versus Masayoshi Kuro, who...
Spoilers!
Shoot! Oh, wow. I figured, you had one job over here. I had one job over here.
Trainers, I have a prediction for who is about to win this match.
I will not take you up on that. Scott, I might have to agree with you here.
Can't miss them all, right?
We also have Theotime Masu versus Cedric Bernier and Eric Brock versus Choppa Cross. So those will be our first 4 matches happening in the bracket. I believe we'll be featuring 2 of those matches, one on our stream, one on the side stream. So that should be pretty exciting.
I feel like this whole World Championships has been really exciting. Seeing who is in top cut and the caliber of these players is amazing, especially too when you're looking at the regional differences, everything else. I think that has been quite interesting to see who's been able to come out on top, because I mean when we're looking at NAIC,
không coi được
the big splash there,
tập kết à, mai ngủ quá rồi.
I feel like we got a lot of that flipped.
Yeah, we did. I think the one thing that really jumps out to me coming into day 2 in
Ôi,
particular
nghĩ
and the top cut
chịu
the
hết nổi. Bye bye.
restricted pairs that
Ai đang coi thì chào tạm biệt nha.
so much variety where you think, oh, that might just be, we've seen a lot of Calyrex Shadow Riders, Amazon